Get nasty on a Tuesday. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Carey Davis, Andrew Marsham, Anthony Stalter. 201, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Jamie Rivers is out sick today.
Oh, no.
So he will not be here today to break down what we saw last night.
What did we see last night?
Not great.
Okay.
As the Blues lose to the Flyers. My number one takeaway from last night is that the Blues never got control of that game. They
just kind of chasing it the entire game.
I don't know what you guys saw. It felt like the Blues were chasing it.
Yeah.
And it felt like Joel Hofer, the puck was exploding off of his body all night long. And he had some good saves. But he did. Jamie likes to talk about players, especially Jordan Binnington, when they're quiet in the crease.
Yeah.
They're quiet. Joel Hofer, that was not a quiet game for him last night. It was exploding off of him.
It was bouncing everywhere, which leads to other opportunities for the opposing team to put the puck in the net.
Sure. Or your defenders to get out of position.
A lot of bad things happen when you don't. And we talked about it in the room, just saying there were times where it seemed like it was just going off of his glove and one bounce whizzed right past his ear, which allowed an opportunity to get behind him and to be tipped in. You want your goaltender to keep it quiet, as you said, not have a lot of rebounds, not have the puck moving in a lot of different places. And I agree with you. It felt like they were chasing that game often last night. When Sundqvist scored, you're like, okay, maybe we, but then they give a goal, I felt like a minute and a half later, where you're like, God, come on.
I don't even know if it was a minute later.
It was about a minute and a half. It was quick. It was right before the end of the period.
Felt like 10 seconds.
Is extreme, which is probably more frustrating because what do we talk about here? What are the main goals when you're in your zone? What do we do? What do we need to do?
Oh, clear it.
Clear it.
Yeah, clear the puck. Yeah, Carey, thank you. Yeah.
What do we talk about?
I forget sometimes. I mean, Jamie just crushes that line of thinking all the time, Carey. I forget that you are with Andrew Marsh and I'm
on board.
For the clear account.
Clear it.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you can't give up goals late in the period. That's like a gut punch. Now, I know the Blues did respond. They tied the game up. But, I mean, come on, guys. Like, you just score a power play goal. The power play has been abysmal this year. It's been a lot better under Drew Bannister.
It's been great
if we want to take one positive thing away, it's that the power play did capitalize, and we talked about it with Jamie, having guys in front, Oscar Sundqvist, screening Carter Hart, ends up getting a rebound and puts it past him. Like, that is the things that's the thing that you have to do on the power play, and they're executing that. So that's a good thing. But the rest of the game, that's the thing. I don't know what version of the Blues are going to show up every single night, even under Drew Bannister.
I don't know that they know.
It's fair, though. I think it's fair to say that this team has played more consistently under Drew Bannister.
For sure.
Even when I sit down and watch the Blues now, I feel like we're going to get a more consistent product night in and night out. In fact, the way that we reacted to that game last night, the three of us, and I'm sure Blues fans felt the same way, I was surprised with that performance last night. And I think that's a credit to Drew Bannister settling things. But ultimately, Marsh, you're right. The problems with the consistency has been the big issue.
Well, yeah, you beat the Rangers, who are one of the best teams in the league. You could have beaten the Boston Bruins, another great team. This whole stretch, they were playing great teams. They went 4-4-1 in that stretch. So if you want to take some positives from that, you played some of the best teams in the NHL, and you went basically 500.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you should feel somewhat comfortable, at least better than what you did before. But that's tough. Like, you play good hockey against some great teams, and then you play the Flyers, who are better than what they were last year, you know, playing good hockey. And then you have that kind of game. So, I don't know. It's just tough as a fan.
Yeah.
Any concern? I mean, they gave up 42 shots on goal again last night. 40 shots on goal.
Yeah, they give up. Yes.
It's not great, Carey.
Not great.
We talked about it a couple of games ago when they beat the Rangers. They gave up 42 that game. They lost to the Bruins. They gave up 35. For me, earlier in the season, that was a concern for me because obviously the more shots you get on goal, the more opportunities for those goals to go in. I would prefer, I just think clear it and not allow as many shots on goal would lead you to having more opportunities to win games. It just, you're bound to give up a rebound when you're facing 42 shots a night.
Now, they did have opportunities. Carter Hart made some great saves. Jordan Kyrou had a few opportunities, some great passes. So if you want to take some positives other than the power play, you could say that the Blues could have won that game, but Philly's goaltender made some great stops.
Yeah, he did. He came up big several times. But to Carey's point, he had to make 28 out of 30 saves, whereas Joel Hofer, again, not a great performance by him last night. Not quite in the crease, puck exploding, all that stuff. He had to make 38 out of 41 saves.
It's a lot.
You're right.
It's a lot.
It's been an issue.
Yeah.
It's been an issue all season long. And Marsh, you had pointed out, like Jordan Kyrou got out of position on the one goal. He didn't pick up his guy. That was the one where Hofer slipped and then took out Torrey Krug too at the end of the play. There are moments where there's still too many golden opportunities for opponents to get their shots off, get it clean, and then the goaltender doesn't come up with the second save. It's not even the first save; it's the second save.
It's hard. I mean, you get a rebound and there's guys, parked in front of your net. Chances are they're gonna be able to tip it in.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, Philadelphia, they needed that win, especially the fans, after their football team was terrible last night. So we can give it to them. Yeah. They needed that win. So maybe the Blues were like, hey, we know your team's not going to show up, your football team, so we'll go ahead and we'll give your hockey team a win tonight.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not, Marsh, because we lost our football team. So if that's the case, every opponent should just lay down. Every football city that also has an NHL team should be losing to us then at that point. One bit of news here. Nikita Alexandrov was recalled from a conditioning loan. So Alexandrov recalled conditioning loan with the AHL Springfield. Today he picked up 2 goals and 7 points during a 7-game stay with Springfield. At this point, not clear whether or not the 23-year-old who's gone scoreless through 10 top-level appearances this year might crack the Blues lineup, but that's just one note. The Blues take on the Capitals, pregame starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow, right here on 101 ESPN. That's not tomorrow. That's 2 days from now. That's Friday. They're going to be in D.C.
Marshall, you talked about Justin Falk and him being back in the lineup. You were talking about his plus-minus, what you said, -5?
I think it's something like that on 5-on-5. Yeah, we had that conversation. Anthony, you weren't here on Friday, but we did have that conversation with Jamie about whether or not
who you pair him with when he comes back.
Exactly.
Kessel was doing such a great job. And do you just stick him right back in there with Krug?
So, I don't know if they switch up the D pairings. Marco Scandella, who Jamie said has been playing well, and he has. Like, I wonder if he gets back in the lineup, if they start to shuffle some things around. Now, their schedule gets a little bit easier. You have Washington coming up twice, not back-to-back days, but, you have a road and a home game for the Blues. So, I know we were intrigued to see what they did against these tough teams, and they played fairly well. Now I think the question is, how can they do against some of these teams that aren't high up in the standings? Because earlier this year, they were not playing good hockey against teams that did not have a good record. So I think that becomes the question now.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I mean, they went 3-3 against that stretch that we were talking about, right?
4-4-1 is what I saw.
The Vancouver, Carolina, Florida, New York, Boston, Philadelphia?
Yeah, so I started it from when they played Dallas.
Got you. Okay. I mean, either way, that's still against really good teams. You're not going to win them all.
Right.
But you didn't go 0-7-1.
No.
They've
played better hockey.
You have played much better since Drew Bannister has been there, and the power play is much better. Jamie talked about the percentage. I think it was 20% since on Friday. I'm sure it's gone up since then. So that's better. But we're greedy, right? We want to win games. We want to win championships, and you want to see your team performing at a high level every single night out.
You'd also, Carey, like to see them gain some momentum here. I mean, you've won 3 games in a row. You've had 2 winning streaks this year. That's it. That speaks to the consistency issue. You've had 1 4-game losing streak. You've lost 3 of your last 4 now. At some point, you'd like to rack up some wins and get on a nice streak or 4 or 5 wins. Yeah. Then you can start to make some headway in the standings here. Without that, you're just going to be kind of keeping your head above water, and that's it. For now, it's okay. But at some point, they're going to make a run. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN 211. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Would you fire Nick Sirianni? Is he done?
No.
A lot of people met with that same disgust.
What are they talking about?
Let me ask you this, Carey. What does he do? Save it. We'll get into it next on 101 ESPN. Super Wild Card Weekend, man, that was a lot of fun. You had the 2 games yesterday, Carey, but now the divisional round games are set. And for those teams coming up, well, for every team coming up, it's win or go home. You'll always have a spot in the playoffs. So with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick a W. So right now, and Carey's got the opportunity here for you to sign in and take advantage of some bonus bets. But right now, you can play at FanDuel, and if you're listening throughout the course of the week, at some of our picks, some you might want to fade, some you might want to take. But again, you could play it all at FanDuel.
Yeah, Anthony, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/fast to join today. That's FanDuel.com/fast. Anthony, I like the Detroit Lions at home over the Buccaneers. I know you like the Bucs. The San Francisco.
I liked the Bucs last night.
Shaky Bakey.
I liked them last night.
Well, check the Lions over the Buccaneers at home. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
I don't like the Bucs. Must be 21 or older and present in Illinois. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So the way Carey looked at me when I teased that last segment, I don't think he's going to agree with me, but I do think the Eagles should consider moving on from Nick Sirianni. And no, it's not just because of one game. I had the Bucs last night. You guys know that. I said the Bucs are going to win this game. The Eagles are a team that we need to believe they're showing us who they are. And in the last month of the season, they showed us exactly who they are. They got trucked by the 49ers. They got trucked by the Cowboys in Dallas. They lost on a field goal to the Seahawks. They beat the Giants by 8. Lost the Cardinals at home when they had a decent lead. And then the final week, they started pulling some starters, but they still lost in New York, where they got destroyed. This Eagles team limped into the playoffs, and then they went down to Tampa, and they got rolled last night.
They did.
They allowed 337 passing yards to Baker Mayfield, who was dealing with rib injuries and an ankle injury. Then his own lineman stepped on him again at one point, and that was his good ankle that got stepped on. Still performed well. Outside of Devontae Smith, the Eagles had nothing last night. They couldn't tackle. They were undisciplined. They looked checked out at times. And I know that Sirianni got them to the Super Bowl a year ago. But there is one variable that has changed here. 2, in fact. They lost both coordinators.
They did.
They got worse this year. Jalen Hurts is still there. Yeah. It's not like he's Mike Tomlin and he lost Big Ben and he's trying to figure it out. The first year under Nick Sirianni, he called the plays. It wasn't good. So he gave up the play calling. He had 2 really good coordinators last year. They made the Super Bowl. And then this year, they got worse when they lost the 2 coordinators. Could you see him being fired a year from now?
No. A year from now?
Yeah. Meaning
next year?
Yes.
Maybe after next year, if they have even more regression, meaning they don't make the playoffs or they finish under 500. Nick Sirianni is 34-17 as a head coach. That's with 6 losses this year. And those are 6 bad losses for the most part. That wasn't a good finish to the season. They finished 1-7 in their last 8 games. That's not great football. Mm-hmm. But it also is not solely on the head coach. They haven't performed well. You talked about losing the 2 offense coordinators. The offense and defensive coordinator. That played a big role in who they were this year. Also, being a year older plays a big role. The Super Bowl hangover. There are a lot of things that take place when you make it to the Super Bowl and are unable to win in the manner in which they did last year. We were talking about it, Marsh and I, earlier today. The game plan that they had offensively was terrible, in my opinion, because there's an easy solution to when a team is blitzing you and you're under fire in the way that they were last night. It's called run a screen. I watched that game. I don't know. Maybe I don't recall a screen to a running back or a wide receiver, a tunnel screen. When you are constantly under duress, you throw the ball into the blitz and you throw a screen and it makes life easier. You know what the defense said? Oh, hell, we got to back up. We're going to get gashed. Because, yeah, we want you to blitz, so we're going to slip out right behind you, dump it over your head, and go get 25 yards or maybe 50 and a touchdown. That's what alleviates some of that pressure. I didn't see that. I didn't see them running the football. So in terms of Nick Sirianni being a better head coach, yeah, he has to correct that, because what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did last night is what they saw every other team before them do. Mm-hmm. It is a copycat league. If you can't stop the blitz, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to blitz you. And also, even with the blitz, if you're not running screens, in breaking routes, there's no one there, man. It's man-to-man. Beat your defender and get inside. You saw it with the Devontae Smith catch and run. That was a big play. The safety came down late. They blitzed the DB off of Devontae. He got inside, made a big play. He should have scored. Shouldn't get tripped up by safety. You got to score. But those are the things that they – so if you want to blame Nick Sirianni for that, mm-hmm. because anybody with eyes should have been able to say, hey, man – they bring in 7 and we only got 6.
Right.
We got to figure something out. Throw a screen. Hell, throw it to the back on a free release to the flat. Give them something. But as a head coach, if you're unable to answer that question, that's problematic. That's not really on your OC. It is, but as a head coach, your job is to say, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Absolutely.
Do this. Because you have the final say in all things. So I don't think he'll be fired this year. Philadelphia fans, calm down. Mm-hmm. It's a bad season. It's a bad end to the season. It's a bad season, and they went, 11-6. It's a bad season, right? Because of how it ended.
Yeah,
but
he's 10-1 at one point.
Yeah, that's okay. We're focused on what we're talking about here. Don't look at this. Look at this is what I'm trying to show you.
Carey, for 5 minutes, you've made my point.
But he won't be fired now. Again, 34-17 in 3 years. You don't fire him and start the process over thinking that you're going to find someone that can take you to the Super Bowl.
Let me offer you, and Marshall, I want to hear your thoughts on this too. But Carey, what you just said, you said you can't fire him, start the process over.
Yeah.
Why not? Because if you think,
go ahead.
Because if you think he could get let go a year from now, Mike Vrabel's available now.
Okay.
Bill Belichick is available now.
Yeah.
Brian Flores is available now. Maybe Mike Tomlin's available now.
Mike Tomlin.
Jim Harbaugh is available now. There are guys available now
That may not be available next year.
Exactly. So if you think that Nick Sirianni, if he's your guy, fine. But this is one of these coaches that could be, this is unique now. This is a unique coaching cycle. This is not just 8 hot coordinators. This is a legendary coaching cycle.
It is.
So if you forecasted a year from now saying, yeah, Nick Sirianni could be one of those guys that gets let go, then you do it now.
So what changed from last year to this year other than the coordinators leaving, in your opinion? So then so that's the same man that led the team to the success that they had to go to the Super Bowl, to win the NFC East. Like they did a great job all season long last year.
Right.
They did a really good job for 11 weeks this year, but for some reason, people caught up to what they were doing or what they were unable to do.
Right.
The only thing that I think Nick Sirianni should do or should have done, tell your OC we're going to hand the ball off to DeAndre Swift, not RPOs, because what happens when you give a quarterback a run-pass option?
He'll pass.
He's going to pass, man. He's a quarterback. Why in the hell? I don't hand this damn ball off. You saw the Eagles have 3 or 4 offensive lineman penalties downfield. You saw them not be able to read the run or pass correctly and find people open. Don't give them the option. Run the football. DeAndre Swift had 10 carries. He had 5 in the first half, and 2 of those carries were for 17 and 9 yards. Why in the hell aren't you running the football? Why aren't you? And to me, that's on the head coach.
Sure.
Because your offensive coordinator and your team is a reflection of you. Mm-hmm. So he's still a young coach, in my opinion, only in his 3rd year. Those are things that you correct. You talk to your OC, you talk to your DC. We got to be better in these areas. And if not, I will have to move on from you. But I don't think you move on from the head coach. And what you do, if you don't like the OC or the DC, you find guys that know how to get the ball to their playmakers, how to not worry about A.J. Brown chirping because he's not getting – sit down, man. There's only one football. It's a full team. We got guys here. We're going to get you the ball when the play calls for it.
Right.
But you have to have people that are willing to have those conversations.
I mean, that's just half the problem, their offense. Their defense was terrible last night. I don't care what their offense could have done because the defense couldn't tackle anybody. They were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't good.
And those corners, I'll tell you what, too, had Mike Evans not dropped a sure touchdown.
What about Cade Otton? That guy dropped like 3 or 4.
Cade Otton dropped one, I mean, right up the seam. He dropped one for what could have been a 15 to 20-yard pickup. Had the Buccaneers not dropped as many passes as they did in the first half, that's a blowout in the first half. Mm-hmm. The Eagles made it interesting heading in halftime, but at no point, we talk about this a lot, can you get control of the game? The Eagles never got control of that game. Not once. As soon as the Buccaneers drove down the field and kicked the opening kickoff, kicked the opening field goal, the Buccaneers were never not in control.
Yeah.
I thought that game sort of played out like the Dallas Green Bay game, where it felt like Dallas had no control of that game. They were always trying to come from behind. They couldn't get anything going. I thought that the Eagles, if they needed to change some things, they should have taken the ball like the Packers did and set the tone on the road, and they didn't do that. And then the Buccaneers went down. Now, they did make a good stop. They kicked the field goal. It could have been way worse, but they had no control of that game. And to your point about Nick Sirianni, how do you not at least entertain the idea of having one of these great head coaches with a bunch of, I mean, the resume speaks for itself for some of these coaches. How do you not at least entertain the idea?
Sirianni does not call the plays on offense or defense, so he essentially is the CEO type.
It's your job.
Belichick is a CEO type. Vrabel is a CEO type. Tomlin's a CEO type. Like they have defensive backgrounds, but they're not calling plays.
Which means you still have to get people to call the plays correctly.
Correct. So
Mike
that
Tomlin
is essentially his job.
Mike T struggled offensive play calling.
He did. Yeah. We'll get to him.
It hadn't been great.
A couple minutes.
Yeah. Thanks. We just go right across the state.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We got an interesting text here from the 314. Should the Dolphins move on from Mike McDaniel? Because every argument that you're making about the Eagles, you could apply to the Dolphins, except the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year.
Incorrect. Mike McDaniel calls the plays. It's his offense. If I'm firing him, it's his offense.
It's the same thing.
They stunk against really good teams.
They were bad down the stretch for 2 seasons in a row now.
Is Nick Sirianni in the same planet as Mike McDaniel as a play caller? I know what I'm getting out of Mike McDaniel. I have no idea what I'm getting out of Sirianni.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go a different route, except for forget the Dolphins here. Would you fire Mike McCarthy?
Yes.
Why? The guy's had an unbelievable... Your point is Nick Sirianni's got a great record. So does Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's had a great record over his last 3 years, yet you guys are so willing to fire Mike McCarthy. Why?
Mike McCarthy calls the plays, and they stunk.
Dak Prescott has never been better.
It doesn't matter. The biggest game of the year, they were terrible.
As a team, they stunk.
So did the Eagles.
They did. They did stink.
And so did the Dolphins.
But, okay.
I don't want Mike McDaniel fired. I like him.
Out of all these games, you could make an excuse for the Dolphins going to frigid weather. Everybody knew. Everybody knew in America and the world. People who don't watch football said, that ain't gonna be good. The Dolphins are gonna get their ass kicked. That's not a Mike McDaniel problem.
I don't think Mike McDaniel is going to get fired. I think he's done a fantastic job, especially this past year. Like, they did a really good job, except for when they played really good teams. You knew how that story was going to be written when they played teams above 500. They weren't going to perform well. And his thing, it gets old if you can't beat good teams.
Sure.
Like, it will wear on people. The nice, funny, you got to win games. Mike McCarthy, that was abysmal. That was a team, to me, when I watched that game, they looked like they said, it's the Green Bay Packers. Man, they crawled into the playoffs. Man, they got a young quarterback. He's the first playoff game. And playing in Dallas, playing in AT&T State, playing in Jerry's World. We'll take care of it. And the Packers went out there and smoked them from start to finish. Now, Dallas tried to get back into the game. Dak makes bad decisions when it counts most. Like, the pick he threw to Darnell Savage was a terrible decision. The pick he threw to Jair Alexander was a terrible decision. He couldn't find CeeDee Lamb at all. It was almost like they had some type of friction pregame. I don't know what that was. That wasn't great. Philadelphia, I don't blame Nick Sirianni solely for what took place. I blame him for not correcting it, but as a third-year head coach, those are some of the bumps and bruises you have to go through, figuring out, hell, my OC don't know what the hell he's doing on blitzes when it's cover zero. But he doesn't know how to get out of this pressure. He doesn't know. He hasn't explained to our guys where the ball needs to be thrown. There were times where the blitz is coming from the right. Normally, you want to throw where the blitz is coming from. Hopefully, preferably, having an in-breaking route because there is no one there. He's throwing it to the left over Devontae Smith's head and falling away. If you're falling away, the ball is going to sail. There are so many things not done correctly in that game yesterday by the Philadelphia Eagles that you have to look at the coaches and say, okay, you weren't prepared for this.
Correct.
And I don't know how you weren't prepared for this. It is on the head coach, but as a third-year head coach, it is on him to make sure that his offensive and defensive staff are prepared and know exactly what, and be able to correct it in real time.
Mark my words. And please, keep the text in. If you think that the Mike McDaniel situation is the same as Nick Sirianni, I vehemently disagree, but I'm open to your thoughts on this. Because Mike McDaniel actually calls. I know what I'm getting out of Mike McDaniel. I have no idea what I'm getting out of Nick Sirianni at this point. But mark my words. If the Eagles keep him, and he gets fired a year from now, there are going to be people saying that they should have done it this year because of who's available.
I agree.
It's going to happen.
He'll be okay. They'll win the division next year. Who's going to win? Is
Dallas when they get Belichick?
Come on. No way. Not happening.
No way they're getting Belichick, or no way
they're winning the division.
With Belichick?
With anyone.
It's Fastlane on 101 at ESPN. All right, let's get into Carey Steelers. Not a surprise yesterday, but Mike Tomlin walks off after a very appropriate question that he had to know was coming. We'll get into him and whether or not maybe him and the Steelers just go ahead and mutually part ways. That's next on 101 ESPN. When it comes to Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, you're going to get a couple of things that you're going to love in terms of a car buying experience. First of all, you're going to get great deals. They've got great deals going on throughout the month of January. They have great financing options too. So not only are they going to fit the right vehicle to you, but they're also going to give you a way to comfortably finance the vehicle, feel good about the monthly payment, not stretch your budget, but again, get a safe, reliable vehicle that you love. They've got a ton of selections too. When it comes to Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, one dealership offers you over 700 vehicles. They've got new Nissans and pre-owned vehicles, different makes and models. So if you're looking at a truck, they've got countless trucks, sedans, coupes, SUVs, vans. They've got them all at Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum. They also give you a 30-day return promise. They feel so comfortable and so great about your car buying experience with them that they'll give you the 30-day return promise within 30 days. If you need to bring the vehicle back, no problem. They'll refund you the vehicle. Then they give you a complimentary lifetime warranty too. So financing, great deals, complimentary warranty, and the 30-day return promise, all at one location out in Herculaneum. So visit them at autocentersnissan.com, or when you head out to the dealership, tell them Stalter sent you. It's Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues lost last night to the Philadelphia Flyers by a final score of 4-2. They'll be back in action on Thursday taking on the Washington Capitals with the pregame starting at 5 and the puck drop at 6. We'll talk with Joe Vitale later today in the 4 o'clock hour. So stay tuned for that. Once again, Blues and Caps on Thursday, pregame at 5, puck drop at 6. The NFL Divisional round is set. The Baltimore Ravens will take on the Houston Texans. The Bills will take on the Chiefs. The 49ers will host the Packers. And the Lions will take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Steelers lost to the Bills yesterday in the wild card round. What is Mike Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh? We'll dive into that next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Following his team's 31-17 loss to the Bills, Mike Tomlin was asked a question that he had to have known was coming. It was about his future. It was about his contract in Pittsburgh. And instead of answering it or declining to answer it or step over it or do the Bill Belichick thing, does anybody want to talk about the game? Mike T just walked off. Carey, he's your former head coach. You won a Super Bowl under Mike T. Obviously ticked off. His team just lost. But again, a question that he knew was coming. Do you think he's frustrated just because of the game, the season, or do you think there's more here and both sides maybe mutually decide to part ways?
Well, he's frustrated from the game, obviously. He's frustrated from the season. And I guess the expectations of fans that don't understand football, I mean, it's hard as hell to win when you have a great quarterback, an elite quarterback. They don't have that. They haven't had that since, I mean, the last 2 years of Ben's career probably weren't that of an elite quarterback. And he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he wasn't who he was prior to his last couple of years before his injury. I think it was his elbow.
He couldn't throw the ball more than 5 feet.
He was unable to. So it's hard to win football games. They were on their third quarterback. TJ Watt, the best player, defensive player, should win Defensive Player of the Year again, didn't play. Minkah Fitzpatrick missed plenty of time. He played this weekend, but he missed time. They had a lot of things going on, and I'm sure it was frustration because that's not the first thing you think about after a playoff loss, a crushing playoff loss, even though you weren't expected to win or favored to win, but you still feel like you could. That's a frustrating question to have to answer in that moment, and it's not something that you think about, and he walked off. Now, would Mike Tomlin 2 years into his career walk off if that was a question? No. But when you've been there and have that much credibility and have done as much as he's done in the National Football League, yeah, you can walk off and not have to answer that question and deal with it at a later date.
Yeah, he can handle it however he wants to. I will say this, though. It wasn't an inappropriate question. And again, I don't think it was inappropriate. I mean, you're going to get asked that question.
I don't think his response was inappropriate either.
No, he can do whatever he wants. The whole thing here about, I had mentioned with Nick Sirianni, I think people disagreed with my take on Sirianni and the Eagles moving on, but the variables changed with Nick Sirianni. Yeah. The one variable that changed for Mike Tomlin was the quarterback situation, like you said, when he had, and this is not unlike most head coaches. We hear this all the time with Belichick. When he had Big Ben, it's a Super Bowl winner.
Life's easier.
When you don't have Big Ben, he's still consistently either getting you to the playoffs. Now, they haven't won a playoff game in a while now, but I also don't think the roster has been that good.
Yeah.
And when John Harbaugh, I remember this distinctly, there was a lot of this feels similar to the John Harbaugh situation in Baltimore. Before they got Lamar, there was a lot of chatter about whether or not Harbaugh and his time in Baltimore was coming to an end.
Right.
They needed to move forward here. Flacco, ironically, because Flacco now came back and he looked like a superstar before going to Houston last Saturday. But Flacco was done. And John Hart's like, hey, should they move on for Harbaugh? The game's kind of passing by. Maybe it's just time. And then they got Lamar, and now you don't hear that again.
It's amazing what an elite quarterback can do for everybody, the entire city.
The point is, Carey, it's not like Mike Tomlin forgot how to coach. And I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think his message has been stale. He's made mistakes. Matt Canada's a huge, but that's on him. If you're going to be a CEO type and not call plays, we just have this conversation about Sirianni. You got to get your coordinators right. And he held on to Canada way too long.
Yeah.
But he needs a quarterback. He needs to figure out some of his hires. But then I could definitely see him still making a deep run here with the Steelers again.
I agree. I think,
unless he's fed up.
Well, I don't know if he's fed up. I think the team has shifted. Like I said, when he first got there, he had players on that roster that were older than him, right? And so there's a level of maturity in that locker room in comparison to what I think is there now. I mean, you watch George Pickens pout and not block. You watch Deontay Johnson do the same thing. You see these things happening.
Score a touchdown, down 3 touchdowns.
And when you are not able to corral the guys in the manner in which you should, or guys aren't self-motivators in terms of the team, I think that wears on you and frustrates you. And I think that's kind of where this team has gotten. They've gotten away from, and I hate to sound like the old, back in my day, we used to, I hate that because I hated it when people would say it to me when I was playing. But there is a level of understanding and maturity that comes with being a professional athlete. And I think at times, not just the Pittsburgh Steelers, but a lot of current players at times don't show that and don't have that. And so you have to find ways to make sure that these young people are being professional, taking care of their business. And it helps. It helps to have a great elite quarterback. I don't know if Kenny Pickett is going to be that. I thought he would. I thought he was going to be a really good quarterback. I've told you that. I thought that they were going to have a really good season this year. Hadn't looked great. Mitchell Trubisky, definitely not the answer. Mason Rudolph, you probably got the best you're ever going to get out of Mason Rudolph, the 3 games that they won, and then he turned back into a pumpkin because Mason Rudolph
He's Mason Rudolph.
He's Mason Rudolph. No offense to that guy. But he's just not an elite top-tier quarterback because if he was, guess what? He'd have been starting, and they never would have drafted Kenny Pickett.
Right.
So that's where they are right now. They have to find a quarterback that takes the pressure off of that entire team and is a great quarterback. He don't have to be a first-round guy, doesn't have to be a top 10 pick, doesn't have to be Caleb Williams, but you got to find somebody that can be an elite quarterback and can grow into that role.
Yeah, I agree. One last thing on this. So Tomlin, I don't understand why Mitch Trubisky got as many starts as he did this year. Because Rudolph looked better. He looked better down the stretch. Trubisky was costing you games.
Yeah.
When they made the decision to go with Rudolph, then they started to pick it up, and that's how they squeezed into the playoffs. So I don't know what they were watching at practice, but this does go, like Tomlin, if he's going to stay, and I think he should.
Yeah.
He's Mike Tomlin. I know what I'm getting out of Mike Tomlin.
Right.
I don't know what I'm getting out of Nick Sirianni. Tomlin, I know. So can you get a quarterback and can he get these coordinators right? He's got to figure out what to do offensively because there's an issue there.
There is an issue, a huge issue there. They have to be better offensively, and it starts up front, being able to block, being able to protect guys and keep them off of your quarterback. And then, like you said, having a quarterback that knows where the ball should go. That interception, you're in that game in Buffalo yesterday, and then Mason Rudolph throws a pick in the end zone. Like, you scored there. I think the game is tied.
14-7.
Would it have been 14-7?
Yeah, because I think the Bills went down and made it
21-7. It would have been, I think it would have been 14-14.
I thought it was 14-0 when they got the interception.
But either way, you change the trajectory of the game when you throw an interception in the red zone. You can't do that. It's an out route or an out breaking route to the sideline. The ball needs to be outside. Yeah. It cannot be left inside. And those are the things that you get from quarterbacks that aren't
Mason Rudolph.
Well, yeah, there you go. You took the words right out of my mouth.
It's a fast lane on 101 ESPN. What's trending is next.
time to find out what's going on in the sports world with What's Trending Now. Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate a car and get tickets to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Anthony Stalter, Carey Davis, I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. Before we get into what is actually trending in sports, Anthony, there was something that happened on Friday that we need to share with you. FedEx Colton from our text line reminding us to share this bit with you. I think it might make your day. And our first star of the day, texted in by FedEx Colton, and we all agree, Anthony Stalter.
I did it! We're going to have to stay for your...
Where's he at?
Thanks, FedEx Colton.
He said he was going to grab something to drink.
When did he leave?
He didn't come back.
So full disclosure, I was not feeling good on Friday. I have never left a show in the middle of the show. I started feeling kind of rough in the 3 o'clock hour, and I was hanging on. We had a lot of football to talk that day, so I didn't really want to go home. There was a blues segment at 4:15 that I can't tell you what was said because I was concentrating on not throwing up. And now that we got these cameras here,
You didn't want to.
I definitely didn't want to puke and the snake pit see it. So I just held on for dear life. And then once we got into the break, if you go back and listen to the tease, it sounds like I'm trying not to throw up.
Oh, man.
And then as these guys can attest, I put my headphones down, I took the mic muff off, and I said, hey guys, I got to go home.
Yeah.
I don't feel great.
You missed your first star, though, Anthony.
I missed my first star. I feel bad, but I do appreciate that, Golden. Yeah, I went to. I texted my wife Kristen, who was picking up the kids at the time from school, and I said, "Hey, I'm leaving the show. I don't feel good. I'm going to go right upstairs." I laid down at 5 o'clock and did not get out of bed until the next morning. I don't know if it was food poisoning or whatever, but I had the body aches. I had everything. It was rough. Room was spinning.
Glad you made it out.
Thank you.
For
I appreciate that. You know, Carey too. Carey texted me. I didn't get it until the next morning. But Carey's like, "Man, you okay, bud?"
I was like, "Yeah, all right."
You don't normally leave when there's football to be talked about.
Everything okay?
I appreciate that, Carey.
Well, at least we didn't tell everybody that you went to the bathroom for 3 hours.
Very true. Yeah, we did that to Marsh at one point. Marsh was calling one of his games, one of his hockey games. And we said he was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
He left after an hour or something like that. And we just said
he's in the bathroom.
He's in the bathroom. But this is how great our listeners are, too. Our listeners kept saying, hey, does somebody want to check on Marsh? He's been in the bathroom for a long time. And we're like, no, he's fine.
He'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
He's good. Yeah.
My legs, if that were the case, my legs probably went numb.
Yes.
I couldn't walk. Sitting down for so long. Happy birthday to a Cardinal legend, Brendan Donovan. Today's his birthday. It's also Albert Pujols' birthday.
Oh, no kidding.
But Brendan Donovan receiving a lot of praise during the Cardinals' winter warm-up. What are your expectations for him for 2024?
Be exactly what he was last year. Be that Swiss Army knife that can play second base, that can fill in the outfield, that is a regular, but will also not have a position. I hope he's the only one that doesn't have, the only one that doesn't have a steady position.
Is he an everyday? I guess not every day, but
he's going
to play 130, 120 games.
Absolutely.
Somehow,
if not
somewhere.
more.
Yeah.
Yep, if not more. He could play, like I said, he could play second. He could fill in. We've seen him fill in anywhere.
Yeah.
And if you're, even at shortstop, when Mason Wynn needs a break, he can fill in there for a spot. In the outfield, I think you can kind of move him around and be completely fine with him. What I don't want to see is Brendan Donovan on the move and Jordan Walker on the move and Tommy Edman on the move and have a more stagnant lineup. But if you want to move him around, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you need consistency. That was one of the things that irked the hell out of me last year. Just not knowing when I go to work every day what my role is for that day. It's so easy. Like if we were to come in here every day and draw names out of a hat for where we were going to be, we would have a terrible show if you wanted me to run the board.
You would not even get on air.
You would. I'm like, Marshall, what do I push? Push that one. Every button. Now.
Like in an elevator.
It's just having the consistency and knowing what you're doing every day.
No doubt.
Makes your life easier.
I mean, if Carey was on the board, it'd probably lead to like a forearm injury.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to click the buttons.
Are you saying he's not tough or in shape?
I'm just making a Brendan Donovan joke.
Nice.
I'd be pushing every button. We would be on air, but I don't know. Somehow.
You might be on air too much.
There you go.
Yeah. The board can be intimidating. Yeah.
Last thing here, Jason Kelce told his Eagle teammates that he is retiring. Are you surprised by this, or do you think it is time for him to hang it up?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best centers to play.
What are you talking about that?
Highest level. I mean, he's 30. What is it? Would you say, Marsh? He's 34, 35?
I didn't say that at all, but he is 36.
Thank you, 36. He's 36 years old. So, but he's still playing at a high level. He could play another season if he wanted to. But, Carey, you have said this before. Once you start to talk about retiring,
it's time to go.
It's time to go. And he started talking about retiring 2 years ago.
Yeah. And when you allow those thoughts to creep into your mind, you're already retired.
Yeah.
Mentally, you are. It's nothing else you can do, because mentally, it takes so much to get up for a season, for a training camp, for practice, for workouts, for training. Once you start saying, I could take the day off, you are mentally tapped. Yeah, and it's about time.
I wonder how much the tush push really, took a toll on him.
Sure.
I mean, he's getting low. He's getting beat up. He's he's the guy on the bottom of the pile every single time.
Yep.
You got roughly 15 people on top of you, give or take.
Not great.
No, that can't feel good.
Did you guys watch the Kelce? Was it on Hulu, I think?
I think it was on Amazon Prime. I did watch it.
I thought it was really good. It's good insight into an athlete at the end.
Yeah.
And Carey, I know you went through this too. You tell the story about being in Tampa and going to a restaurant and ordering like a double cheeseburger
and a beer.
Yeah.
I knew it was over.
And then looking at other, I know you did some acting and you got into media and coaching and all. That's got to be a scary proposition for guys. I saw Dunk go through it too.
It's one of the scariest things, making that transition. And you don't want to sound, you are a professional athlete. How is that scary? There is the fear of the unknown. I mean, even as much as getting a doctor. I never had to get a doctor. I'm 31 years old.
Yeah.
Because from birth to 18, my mother did.
Yeah.
From 18 to 22, the University of Illinois did.
Sure.
From 22, 23 to 30 plus, whatever team I was on did.
I never even thought about that.
I didn't know. I was like, man, my knee hurt. I need to go to I don't even have a doctor.
I better get a physician.
What do I do?
Yeah. Where do I go? By the way, the Eagles, real quick, this is another issue for them, too. Jason Kelce set to retire. Fletcher Cox is an unrestricted free agent. Brandon Graham is an unrestricted free agent. Shaq Leonard is an unrestricted free agent. They've got some guys that DeAndre Swift, who they acquired from Detroit this past offseason. They've got a lot of guys that have either been there for a while or made an impact this year that they're going to have to make some decisions on, and they're paying Jalen Hurts now. Things are about to change quickly. This is why when you have an opportunity, and the Eagles knew it, boy, you got to win.
You have to.
And they lost, and you mentioned the Super Bowl hangover. I think the Super Bowl hangover exists for the losing team.
Oh, no question.
I think it's
It's a real thing.
It's real for the teams that lost.
That's why what Buffalo did in the 90s is so impressive.
It's incredible.
Because to go 4 times and to suffer defeat and get up and do it again and again and again, it is so impressive.
Yeah.
Doesn't get talked about enough, but it was extremely impressive, even though they were unable to actually win one.
No team has done it since.
Yeah,
to go to 4 straight Super Bowls.
It's hard.
All right, it's Fastlane on 101 at ESPN. The Cardinals seem content with this roster. I mentioned about last Friday wanting to throw up. I want to throw up now just thinking about the Cardinals being content with the roster. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Well, our goal is always to win, right? But that, if I come up here and say it differently, that's terrible. But the fact is like you got to get to October before you can worry about winning in October. And I think for us, we feel like we're going to be able to compete in the Central, and expectations are high. So, I think when you look at how we played last year, a lot of things didn't go right for us. We're certainly believe in this team. We believe in our everyday club. And, a lot of these younger guys that got some experience last year, I think that'll serve them very well in 2024.
That was Cardinals President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN 304. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Super Bowl champion Carey Davis and Andrew Marsh. I'm Anthony Stalter. Jamie Rivers out sick today. I saw this quote by Mo, and I just this is where my frustration comes in. Cardinals fans can be frustrated in different ways. There's always a group of Cardinals fans that get frustrated about the lack of spending, and I've always said that's not a Mo thing. That's a Dewitt thing. That's an ownership thing. And the owner can spend their money how they want to, and they're really good owners. They could set their budget. They're allowed to make a profit. All that stuff. So I don't hold the spending against Mo, Carey.
Right.
The decision making on the spending is Mo.
Yes.
And I think he's had hits, and I think he's had misses, just like every president has in all of Major League Baseball. Does he have more hits or misses? I think it's about 50-50 at this point if you look back over the last 5 years or so. It's not as bleak as I think a lot of people make it out to be, but 50. I think it's more 50-50. Where I get frustrated is when they get content. My opinion. They get content. And when I read, we're pretty excited about where our roster is from where we were on October 1st to where we are today. That's John Mozeliak. There's been a lot of roster churn. We've brought in a lot of new faces, and we've been strategic about it. As we sit here on January 13th, are there some things that could happen? Of course. We're going to keep looking and see if there are ways to improve this club. Overall, I feel good about where we are, but we know there's some work to do. To some degree, Carey, it really doesn't matter what Mo says. People are going to be frustrated.
True.
Let's just acknowledge that. People are going to be frustrated no matter what the man says.
Yes.
Unless he says, I'm going to walk away at the end of the year if we don't win a World Series, people are going to be frustrated by it. It's about your actions. I don't care what you say, but your actions lead everybody to believe that you like your roster. And it's not good enough.
Well, he said he likes the roster better than what they were October 1st.
How were you on October 1st?
You were terrible.
A slice of terrible.
You were terrible. So you would hope, and to his defense, I don't think Mo lies. He just doesn't answer it in the way that you would want him to. Like, there is no lie in what he's saying.
Right.
He does believe that this roster is better because it is. I mean, Adam Wainwright had a rough year last year, right? He was not good for the majority of the year. You upgraded that with some guys.
Yeah.
Jack Flaherty wasn't great last year. You upgraded it with some guys. Miles Michaelis wasn't great. You hope that he's better. So overall, compared to where they were, relatively speaking, yeah, they are a better team than they were last year. Are they better in the terms of 89 losses as opposed to 91? I don't know. That's better, though, isn't it? It's not a lie. That's not a lie. They could be better. They could win third in the division and not fifth. That means they are better. So it's not a lie. And I think that's the part that when Mo talks, you have to really dissect what he's saying. He does feel like this is a better team. Are they better enough to win the division? I don't know. I don't know that they are better enough to win the division next year. I still think that there's some pieces that are missing or lacking for this team to be better. And I honestly think that some of the players on the team probably feel that way as well. You talked about 50-50. I would give them 60-40. Just based on the fact.
Better moves than worse moves?
Yeah. Based on the fact that you got two future Hall of Famers, and you don't know if Sandy Alcantara is going to be a Hall of Famer. You don't know if Zach Gallen is going to be a Hall of Famer. You don't know if those guys that left, are going to be Hall of Famers. So what you have done, you got some guys that are future Hall of Famers and are going to be, Cardinal Hall of Famers at some point as well. Mm-hmm. He's done a great job in that regard, but it just frustrates Cardinal fans when you don't get a direct answer. We want direct answers. We don't want, saying things that mean something else or sound in a different way. You want a direct answer. Look, this is the best we could do. We got the 3 guys that I think are going to help our team be better. Look, we were terrible last year. If he were to say this team is better than it was last year because we were terrible last year, just saying that would change the mindset of fans. Now, when you say it in the way he said it, it's like, this guy's trying to get one over on me. Mm-hmm. So it's just the way that he speaks that I think comes off as lack of concern or care for Cardinal fans.
I think what's concerning is that the expectation, if you had to set a bar, like the bar is set low. When this organization, the bar should be set high. Like, that is what this organization should be. They talk all the time, well, we got all these fans coming through the gates, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you do.
You do. And because they expect this team to compete with the top teams in the league. But when you set your expectations low, what are you trying to play for? Are you trying to play for the division? Or are you trying to
just get in?
Hey, do you know what? They have just got.
He's right. That's what they're trying to do.
They have gotten in, and their playoff record's terrible in the past decade. Other than 2019 when they went to the NLCS, they got swept by the Nationals. They've been terrible in the playoffs.
Here's how I view,
because the expectations are set low, and it's like, oh, hey, we got past the expectations. Well, now it's just like, oh, it's just dessert. Like, and if we get it, oh, great. If we don't, well, we got the 3 million fans coming through every year.
You're clearing a low bar every
think
year.
Cardinal fans would be better served if they understood that the Dewitts it is a business for them. Mm-hmm. If you are in business, what are you in business to do?
Make money.
Make money. Now, after I make my money, if we win a championship, that is, well, hell yeah. But I want to make my money. That's what I'm here for. And in the process, we're going to spend, not overly spend. We're not going to be frugal. We're not going to be, Pittsburgh Pirates or Tampa Bay. We're going to spend, but we damn sure ain't going to be the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So we're going to find a middle ground, and hopefully the POBO and the people that are in charge of finding these players get the players in here that actually do the job to the best of their ability. And then the players, which is the part that failed last year, do a better job because they didn't do a good enough job last year.
Then go make your money somewhere else. Like, if you're not going to have that competitive drive as a front office, as an ownership group, then go make money somewhere else. That is what the fans, for the majority, are thinking. Like, that's why you have so many people on our text line saying that they want the DeWitts to sell the team. Now, I don't think they should do that, but I want my favorite team. I want that ownership, even if they're not going to win the World Series. Only one team can, right? And the odds of them winning every single year are very low, right? I mean, we see the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have great ball clubs year in and year out, and they're not winning the World Series every year. Hell, the Dodgers only won one. It was during a shortened season.
Yeah.
But they're competitive every year. They have that mentality that they are going to try and be the best team in Major League Baseball. And sometimes they come up short. Sometimes, and one time they won, right, in the last 10 years, 10, 15, 20 years. But they have that drive, and every single year those fans know that we have a shot. And I don't feel like we have that feeling here in St. Louis.
How much of that is a baseball problem, though?
Well, it's a St. Louis problem. Because
how much of that is a baseball problem, though?
In terms of when the spending, when you're allowed to spend above and beyond what other teams even make, it's problematic. When there's no salary cap, meaning I can spend more money if I have more money than you and am willing to spend it, I can do whatever the hell I want to do in comparison to what you have or what you're willing to do. And I think that's where Cardinal fans have to really sit back and digest that. It is what it is. Like, you cannot force someone. Hell, I can't force you to go spend $20 if you don't want to, right? How can you force someone to spend $80 million extra on top of what they're already spending? You can't force someone to spend the money that they have on something that they don't want to spend it on.
Then you have to be creative. You have to be better developing players. You have to find ways to do it, because other teams that do not spend as much as you do are finding ways to win.
Correct. That's where I'm at.
That's the part.
That's where I'm at. I don't care about this. After I've been doing this now I feel like I've had the same conversation every single year, almost every show. for 10 plus years now about this spending.
That's not your fault, Anthony. That's not your fault.
Thank you.
It's somebody else's fault.
I'm over it. I'm over the spending conversation. I agree with what you just said, Marsh. The Tampa Bay Rays don't spend a lick. They managed to put competitive rosters in a stacked division. The Cardinals roster would not fare well in the NL East or the AL East. They would get crushed. They go to the West. They are a third-place roster, fourth if you're in the AL West. Mm-hmm. That is my issue. It's not the spending. It is the creativity of building your roster. And they flipped it now. They used to have it right, and we all complained, but they had it right. Focus on pitching, fill in the spaces with offensively.
Right.
Then they flipped that philosophy because of one series. It was the Washington Nationals series. The reason why they lost in 2019, we have had it wrong for years. We have said they lost in 2019, that series against the Nationals that Marsh brought up. They lost because of their offense. No, they lost because of the Nationals pitching.
Yeah.
Know how you lose, know how you win. And they lost because they thought of it was their offense, and we all fell in line for it. So what they do? They invested offensively. They invested offensively in the draft and the trade market and everything else. And last year was the consequence of that. They have got to get the pitching right, or none of this crap matters.
Right.
I don't care about the offense. I have seen weaker offenses than what the Cardinals are going to produce in 2024 win it all. Why? Because they shoved.
That matters.
It matters more than we talk about. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Are the Bills still frauds? Because guys like BK, and I think, Carey, you might be on this wavelength too. Are the Bills still frauds? Or do they look like a different team right now? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Carey, and if you're a contractor or own a business that needs recycling, well, you need to learn more about Scrap Mart Metals. They are tailor-made for your business to meet your schedule and your budget. You'd be amazed how Scrap Metals adds up and how you can help your business's cash flow. If you're a plumber, heating and cooling, excavator, or any contractors, Scrap Mart Metals recycling can make your job easier. You know, if you own heavy equipment, you know how frustrating and often the repairs are. When the time comes to end your suffering, Scrap Mart will get it out of your way. They'll haul it. They'll haul the equipment to one of their locations and get you a check the same day. Or if you want to haul it yourself, they have 3 convenient locations: Valley Park, Peebly, or Jonesburg. It fits metal, they'll buy it. Copper, wire, brass, stainless steel, aluminum, batteries, electric motors, steel, cast iron. It's recycling made easy, so just go to scrapmartmetals.com. My guy Lucas can talk to you about setting up a business account. That's scrapmartmetals.com, and tell him Carey sent you.
You Sold coming up in 10 minutes. So if you want to text into the Air Comfort Service text line at 314-399-9646, any Are You Sold comments, Carey and I will answer those. Carey Davis, Andrew Marsh. Andrew Marsh got a little flow to him today.
I mean, you hear this music?
That was good music. I like that. Do the Bills look different to you guys? Or is it just me?
Different better or different worse?
Better. Like different legit as opposed to just falling for a team that has won, 5-6 games in a row now.
Kansas City's going to win that game.
So you're on the same path as BK. And BK, while he's a Chiefs fan, he's a Chiefs fan. Of course he thinks the Chiefs are going to win.
Yeah.
My man will pick against the Chiefs consistently. If he does not feel that the Chiefs are going to win a game, if he doesn't like the matchup, if he doesn't like the injury situation, BK will say flat out, I don't feel good about my team.
Right.
So he's not just some Chiefs homer. But he said the same thing. He goes, Chiefs by 10. I think Buffalo is a fraud.
I do too. I haven't been on the Buffalo train all season long. I thought that they've been up and down. They got back up here lately, but beating that Pittsburgh Steelers team doesn't give me great hope for them offensively or defensively. The Steelers didn't tackle anyone yesterday. Mm-hmm. They opted out of tackling yesterday. You know what?
They went the Eagles route.
I'm going to opt out of this tackling for this wild card game. I know it's optional. I don't need to do it. That's what the Steelers did yesterday, and they paid for it. And it's not really, for me, anything that Buffalo did outstanding. They made some plays, but it was more so about what the Steelers didn't do defensively, turning the ball over, making mistakes. This Buffalo team just feels like the team that, they lost in the second round last year to Cincinnati at home. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, with all of their struggles, the fact that they were able to get that win last week in negative whatever degrees that was absurd. They were able to get that win. Them going on the road for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career, I think they beat Buffalo, as BK said, handedly. I don't think it'll be as close as most people think.
I have not been on the Buffalo bandwagon this season. Regular listeners know I picked Miami to win the division. I came one game close on that, one game short on that, I should say. So I haven't been on Buffalo's bandwagon. I feel as though that once they lost Matt Milano and they lost White, that they were in trouble. And for a while that they were. I still think they're in trouble defensively. They lost another linebacker yesterday.
Bernard.
Right. So he got carted off. So I highly doubt he's coming back at some point. Isaiah Pacheco, Mahomes, Rice. I've been more in the camp of the Chiefs still have enough offensively to overcome their issues than I think you have been. So I think Buffalo's in trouble defensively. But Carey, offensively, Stephon Diggs had 7 catches yesterday for 52 yards. He's going to get 6 to 8 catches per game. That's just, they're going to design ways, as they should, to get him the ball.
Yep.
But I think what Joe Brady has done since taking over the play calling duties from Ken Dorsey is he has spread the ball around. He has made Josh Allen more efficient, which has in turn made him more effective and doesn't put everything on him. And we're seeing a better version. He had 203 yards yesterday. I felt like he had 500 yards. He spread the ball around. Dalton Kincaid, Deontay Hardy. Yeah. And Hardy he had an expanded role because Gabe Davis was out. But we saw Shakir make the big play. Dawson Knox had a touchdown. James Cook continues to be involved. I think this is a more effective Buffalo offense than the one that's like, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, that's all you need. I think they're better overall.
When I watch that, so we look at it from different lenses, because when I watch that game, I see 14 points scored by Buffalo, one on a Josh Allen 52-yard run where the Pittsburgh Steelers said, I opt out of tackling. The Shakir touchdown. I opt out of tackling on these plays. Those are 50 yards in a 30-yard play, I think it was, or 15.
That was Mika Fitzpatrick, too, to miss that tackle. That's one of their best guys.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It was more about what Pittsburgh didn't do. And then you have the interception down there in the goal line. That's 21 points that I'm looking at where the game is completely different. I don't think Buffalo, for me, watching him. Gabe Davis not being there, he's your guy that stretches the field. I love the rookie Kincaid. I think he's a really good guy. Dawson Knox, I like him too. They got guys to get the ball to, but I just still don't feel like this is a team. And all of the injuries piling up on the defensive side specifically. Gabe Davis being out offensively, but all of the injuries defensively. I think they had 2 linebackers go down in that game. Mm-hmm. They are wearing thin on the defensive side. And you talked about Isaiah Pacheco. He's going to run the football. If the Kansas City Chiefs can commit to handing Isaiah Pacheco the football, I don't know what. I have no clue what Miami was doing defensively because it's only 2 guys going to catch passes on that team. I don't know how the hell nobody else on the defensive side knew that. So,
and one guy may drop it because he's still banged up.
Rasheed Rice is the one. And Kelsey was.
Kelsey does not. He
looks banged up a little bit.
He's hurt.
So the fact that I don't think that Buffalo has enough to stop Kansas City offensively, and I think the Chiefs have more than enough defensively to stop what Buffalo does.
Can you get in the end zone, though? Kansas City has had problems. Harrison Butker has been their most effective offensive player because they've sent him on the field consistently. That was a field goal barrage again on Saturday night.
And the defense, ever since the Bills lost to Philly in Week 12, they have not given up more than 22 points in a game. I know you said that the Bills' defense is a little banged up, but, Anthony, that was your biggest concern about the Bills last season.
Very true.
Was that their defense could not stand up and make the plays when they needed to. And they've done a pretty good job limiting teams these past few weeks. I mean, they limited Kansas City in Week 14 to 17 points, Dallas to 10 points. Miami, 14 points in the last week of the regular season. They've done a good job. And then, of course, the Steelers yesterday, they scored 17 points. So I think if the Bills are going to win, their defense does need to come up big. And obviously, Josh Allen needs to limit the turnovers. Yesterday, 0 interceptions. I think everyone on the planet thought he'd at least throw 1.
Yeah.
He threw 0.
He thought he was.
Did he not turn the ball over yesterday?
Allen? No.
Yeah. No turnovers? He'll turn it over twice next week.
Oh, Carey.
He doesn't go back-to-back games without turning it over.
I'll tell you what, these matchups this weekend, I have less of a feel for. I felt really good about the wild card matchups. You guys know I took the Texans. I really like the Texans. I really like the Bucs. I called that last Tuesday. I said the Eagles are going to lose that game.
You did.
The Chiefs, we all felt good about. I like the Packers. I didn't think they were going to win, but I thought that was going to be a shootout, and it was. And then, I like the Lions in a close one. I felt really good about last weekend's games. This weekend, I think these are really interesting matchups. But I'm telling you right now, I'm leaning Buffalo.
I'm going every home team except for Buffalo. 49ers should beat up on the Packers. The Lions should beat the Bucs. And the Ravens should beat the Texans.
I think the 49ers hang 35-40 on Green Bay.
Yeah. I think it won't be a close game. Shouldn't be.
To Carey's point about Josh Allen not turning the ball over, so there's been only 2 games this season. I'm sorry. 1 game, 2 games in the regular season where he did not throw an interception. The first one, they beat Las Vegas, and then the following game, they crushed Washington. But the last time, Miami doesn't throw any interception. That was the first game. The next game, they lost to Jacksonville, close game, 25-20. And then the following game.
That was a weird game, too. The Jaguars stayed out in London, and they screwed the Buffalo Bills.
They showed up late.
Yeah, their travel.
No interceptions against Dallas. They won 31-10. The following week, they play the Chargers, and that's when they won 24-22. And he had a pick in that game. But that was a bad Chargers team. If that's any other good team, perhaps they lose that game.
And he didn't play well. To you guys' point, he didn't play well against Miami. Don't forget, he threw the interception in the end zone early on. Then he left the play clock run right before halftime. It was really the punt return in the second half against Miami that propelled Buffalo. But again, I see a different Bills team. I like watching Kansas City. I have minimized their problems throughout the course of the year, but I do wonder if they've met their match this Sunday. It's going to be a fun weekend in the NFL. Are You Sold is next. 65780. Jeez, that's the old text line. 314. I've done that twice this week. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. So if you got a question, if you got a comment for Are You Sold, you can leave it there. We'll play that next in the Fast Lane.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues lost last night to the Philadelphia Flyers by a final score of 4-2. They'll be back in action on Thursday, taking on the Washington Capitals. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We'll talk later in the day with Joe Vitale, so stay tuned for that. 4:45 with Joey V. NFL Divisional round is set. The Ravens going up against the Texans. The Bills will take on the Chiefs. The 49ers hosting the Packers. And the Lions welcome the Bucks to Detroit. We're talking NFL all day long, so keep it right here on 101 ESPN. But coming up next, we have Are You Sold? So if you have an Are You Sold statement, send it our way to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Are You Sold? Coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, the independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
NFL Network, and of course this information's been out for a while, but the NFL Live crew's talking about how the Falcons have interviewed Bill Belichick for the head coaching position.
Look at that smile on that man's face.
Could you imagine though, he sits down and Arthur Blank with a deadpan look in his eyes looks at Bill and says, "Was there ever a time that you overcame big odds to get the job done?" You have to ask that if you're Blank, right?
And he looks right at you and said, "You know when."
Oh, man.
You're hired. You're hired. All right, Are You Sold? 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line. If you want to participate in Are You Sold, we appreciate the text. All right, Marsh, lead us off.
From the 314, Are You Sold? The Cards are not NLCS contenders.
Yes, absolutely. I've never been more sold on anything in my life.
Nobody else in the division has done anything.
They're not making it to the NLCS.
Cubs. Oh, in the NLCS. I thought you said...
That's what you said, right? You didn't say NL Central. That's all you hear now.
NLCS.
That's all you hear.
That's not good.
That's
not good.
No.
That's all that matters.
Not good enough.
No, I agree. Yeah,
Not even close.
I'm not so.
Not even close.
No. I thought you said NL Central. That's where my brain goes automatically because I, unlike other St. Louis Cardinal fans, have been trained to understand that it's all about the Central, baby. It's all that matters. It's all
You mean
about
brainwashed.
The
You've been brainwashed.
Okay. Trained, brainwashed. Tomato.
Either way. No, yes, I've never been more sold on the Cardinals not being an NLCS contender in all my life.
It's got a lot of good teams out there. One of them paid $1 billion.
You do not have enough top-end pitching. Sonny Gray was a really nice signing. And then you got nothing else.
He only pitches one day, one every fifth day? Once every fifth day?
One every 5 games.
Yeah, you got to step that up. You go twice.
The Cardinals will be the National League Central sellers at the deadline, Anthony. Wow. NLCS right there.
Who are you selling? Everybody?
You know who.
The guy, maybe
you know who.
Contreras?
No. Hell no.
Is it?
I mean, he's the one that takes all the blame.
Nolan Arenado.
There you go. If you're selling, let me tell you something.
I can see that.
Listen to this. If the Cardinals come out and stink again this year, I think Nolan Arenado did a really good job last year of keeping things to himself, keeping his cards close to the vest about how he felt. Because that guy strikes me as a guy that is a psychopath in a great way. I want that guy on my team every day of the week because he might snap at some point.
Sure.
In a good way, right?
Yeah.
He wants to win. He's done damn near everything else. Except what? Win a championship. He wants to win. So if the Cardinals stink and he decided to not opt out a couple of years ago and he's realizing that you didn't tell me the truth about what's going to go on, he will be looking for greener pastures.
But as Anthony would say, he's a part of it.
Yes. 100%. He's part of it.
He pitches?
Nobody plays third base. He's on the team.
You do make a good point, though, Carey.
So,
You do make a good point. It's tough.
Maybe you should.
It's tough when you're down. When you're down 4-0 in the first inning.
I thought that you're paying this guy a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
We need pitching.
Anthony,
And
you
you're not willing to
you
pitch?
can't hit grand slams when there's no one on base and you're down 4-rip in the
You can't hit
first.
grand slams in the playoffs.
Well, you gotta get to the playoffs, Anthony. And how do you do that?
did 2 years
With
ago.
Pitching.
Are you doing the thing
I'm
to
just
me? Where
telling you,
I've been saying
we're on
for a
the
year
same
now.
page.
Your pitching has been a problem.
And I'm telling you, if they don't have a good enough record, and they are sellers at the trade deadline, the young man that wasn't saying much last year is going to be very vocal. I think.
The National League Central has been terrible in the playoffs as of late. And that's not just the Cards.
You could just say terrible.
Well, as of late.
You're right.
As of late. Like,
Yes.
that includes all the other teams.
Yeah, Brewers, do they have a run in the playoffs the last 2 years?
No.
It's not great. They traded a guy too. They were pretty good. He's pretty good. He's still out there.
They're going to still dump. They're going to dump half their roster and still win the Central.
No way.
I don't know.
Honestly, like this is what I think. If the Cards are going to make the National League Central, based on what we've seen in the past, they need to. I think maybe their best shot is being like a wild card team and playing really hot baseball heading into October. That's the only way I could see them maybe making a run with this roster.
Yeah, they won't.
Okay. From the 319, based on playoff results, are you sold Dak Prescott is the Cowboys' future at quarterback?
Based on playoff results, no. No.
You like him in the regular season, and I'm
Yeah, of
still.
course
He led the league in interceptions last year. Not this past, not 23, but 22,
Right.
and didn't play in all of the games. That's a concern for me.
That's tough with Josh Allen in the league, too.
It's spectacular, actually. You have to almost try to do that. Anytime your quarterback forgets what color uniform you're wearing that day is problematic for me. And I have to check the history of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know that they have a green and gold combo at any point. I think it's
cycling
usually
through the old
blue,
brain. No.
gray,
I think so.
white, but somehow
Like light blue, shiny light blue.
Yeah.
grayish,
Yeah,
silver.
That's another discussion. Those uniforms don't match.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I've always liked their Thanksgiving ones.
Great
the white
uniform.
one?
The white ones
do
with
like
the dark
them.
blue.
I do
Roll
like
with
them.
that. White
That's
helmet.
awesome. That is
the white helmet
that
with the
is-
star.
that
So
is-
good.
Go blank yourself, San Diego.
Yeah.
That's a great unit.
That's top tier. But Dak Prescott tends to throw the ball to the other team in crucial situations.
Yeah, I mean the regular season though. You look at it.
So just get in then.
No, because when you get in, you're going to lose. But 4,500 yards, he was third in the NFL. He was second in the NFC in that. He's 7.7 yards per attempt. So he averaged 265.6 per game. 36-9 touchdown interception ratio. That's better than everybody outside of C.J. Stroud.
Is he the quarterback to lead that team to a Super Bowl with all
God,
of
no.
those numbers? I thought that was the question.
No. I said it. I said, are you sold on him in the postseason? No.
All those numbers are great.
No.
What the hell are you going to do?
This is the problem. When you have a Dak Prescott, when you have a Kirky Cousins, they're going to look great in the regular season, and you just know that they're going to just come up short
Who
in
do
the
you
playoffs.
trust more, Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott?
Same guy.
I actually trust Kirk more.
They're the same guy.
Cousins, come on.
Well, we know
Why? Because he was a Viking?
Yeah, that's why.
They're
Kirk
the
Cousins?
same player.
If Kirk Cousins, I'll say it right now, if Kirk Cousins
I think
was
Dak might be a
healthy
little better.
all season long, he would have been the MVP. Go look at his stats.
Is this wishful thinking?
I'm being dead serious.
You know what, Marsh? You're right, because it's the regular season where Dak thrives and Kirk thrives.
He
I'm
just
not
said
going to push
Dak
back.
just led the league in interceptions 2 years ago.
That was
did.
2 years ago. We're talking
Not
about this
last year.
past year. Mike McCarthy fixed him.
Did he?
Yeah.
What happened?
36 touchdowns to 9 picks.
What happened Saturday? Was it Saturday or Sunday? I don't even know what day
Saturday.
Sunday.
It was
Oh,
Sunday.
it was Sunday.
It was
It was
Sunday.
Sunday.
What happened Sunday? I don't even know what today is.
They lost. Jordan Love outplayed them.
That's problematic.
Here's a question for you. These teams that have lost, and we can expand this to previous years, do you feel like the coaching staff relies too heavily on the quarterback during the playoffs instead of giving the running back chances to open the passing game up, because Dallas and Philadelphia did the same thing this year in the playoffs. They did not run the ball effective, and they relied too much on their quarterback.
I think when it comes to the postseason, and Carey, I know you got my back on this one if you have the same philosophy. When it comes to the postseason, if you're not physical defensively and you're not physical in the trenches when it comes to running the ball, you're going to have issues.
You're going home.
You're going to have issues. In the regular season, you could throw the ball over the yard. When it comes to November, December, and now January, really late November, I'll say. So like after Thanksgiving, if you're not running the ball effectively and playing well defensively, you don't tackle well, you're going to go home. That's why I didn't like Miami in the playoffs. I thought they were going to be a track team in the regular season. We're gonna love them, and then as soon as they got to the playoffs, especially if they had to play outdoors, they were going to lose. There was no question about it. So Marsh, yeah, you're right. Look at Green Bay. Green Bay, Aaron Jones set the table. Jordan Love, fantastic.
Rashad White did well last night too.
White did good against. I don't think they can run. They're going to lose on Sunday because they're not going to be able to run the ball. They're not.
But Detroit runs the ball.
They have
two guys that can run the ball.
They're effective.
I love watching.
They got a two-headed monster. Detroit's going to win this weekend.
Yeah.
Baltimore. You know another team that's going to lose this weekend?
Baltimore.
No.
Houston. Oh, Houston can't run the ball. No, they really can't. Houston can't run the ball. This is why C.J. Stroud, the year that he has had, is even more impressive than we think. Houston can't run the ball effectively. They're not going to Baltimore and run the ball.
No.
They're going to get shut down, and C.J. Stroud is going to have to...
He's going to look like a rookie quarterback.
He's going to look like a rookie quarterback.
As great as he's been this year, he will look like a rookie this weekend.
Yes. And that's not going to take anything away from him and his future and all that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Shaky bakey, not so shaky anymore.
Oh, no.
Should we give this guy some credit?
Sure.
Not too much, though. That's next. As you can see at Carey's face. That's next on 101 ESPN. I have not been the biggest Baker Mayfield fan.
Really?
I have felt that, maybe not in the sense that, Cam Newton, I used to call him a front runner. Mm-hmm. Great player. If Carolina was winning, Superman was out and all that. Carolina was losing, you could smell the dump in his drawers from anywhere. And I thought Baker Mayfield was kind of like that too. When nobody was watching, that's when Baker Mayfield was at his best. Mm-hmm. Even go back to his Oklahoma days. Before Oklahoma was making its run to the playoffs, nobody was really watching the Sooners and Baker Mayfield that year. But when he starts planting the flag in South Bend, when he starts doing some of the other things, when he's jawing with, players, fans in the coin toss and all that stuff, that's when everybody started noticing. And then when the playoffs came and the expectations rose, that's usually when he performed at his worst. He gets to Cleveland, even though he's the number 1 overall pick, he was not the guy initially. He did not start right away. Expectations were low. And he had a really good year when the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs. But you could tell he got progressively worse as well. Now, was all that his fault? No. He went through a bunch of coaching changes. He had Hugh Jackson and all that stuff. Gets to Carolina a year ago, and you heard the broadcasters talk about it last night, about how he gets to Carolina, and they wanted him to kind of be this watered-down version of himself. Then he goes to the Rams with Sean McVay, and McVay says, hey, just be Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. Same deal in Tampa. They just wanted him to be himself, and he's come alive here.
Right.
He deserves a lot of credit for maturing along the way, for finding the right team. He's a good fit with the Bucs, and he's having kind of this second-half resurgence like Geno Smith. He deserves a lot of credit.
I agree. He
played well last night.
He did play well, and I was reading something. He was... I saw something yesterday. He's the first player in Bucs history with 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in a playoff game.
Really?
Now, they don't have a rich history of playoffs.
He's better than Tom Brady.
Tom Brady never had 3. Never had 3 touchdowns. He had 300-yard games, but never had 3 touchdowns with a 300-yard game. So he's the first one ever in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history.
So Baker's better than Tom Brady.
Well, no.
Better than...
And Doug Williams.
Better than Jeff Garcia.
No, I don't think he's that. He did a good job.
Okay.
Steve Young too. He's pretty good down there in the orange creamsicles. But
he was not.
He wasn't.
That's why he wanted with the Niners.
He did. But no, he has done a fantastic job this year. As good a job as he can do. He's been allowed. I think the best thing that happened to Baker Mayfield was going to L.A. last year. I think going there, leaving Carolina, going to L.A., having to be thrusted into a game with 3 days of preparation, not knowing anything. But I think Sean McVay unlocked something in him and allowed him to be himself, but be the best version of himself. Just go out there and be Baker Mayfield. Don't try to do anything extra. It was so hard for him in Cleveland, as you said, multiple head coaches. I think he had 3 head coaches in his 4 years there, which means you had 3 or 4 offensive coordinators. Yeah. The turnover was so high, and it was unfortunate for him. And so now you're seeing with a future Hall of Fame receiver in Mike Evans, who all he does is catch 1,000 yards every year.
And drops them.
Don't worry about it. He's going to catch more than he
drops. He drops 1 touchdown a game.
He does. And it's usually a deep ball, which is concerned. Like, how the hell? You catch all these passes. Why do you drop that? Either way, he's done a very good job this year. Now, I think that their luck is going to run out this weekend, because they're facing a team that is tougher than them. Mm-hmm. Not him specifically, but just the team is tougher than them. The Detroit Lions are a team that we talked about last year when they beat the Green Bay Packers, knowing that they had nothing to play for. Aaron Rodgers led Green Bay Packers, a team that was playing for a playoff spot, win and get in. Mm-hmm. And Detroit's like, nah, hell no.
Not up in here.
No, not happening. So we saw kind of their maturation last year and kind of expected it to go this way. So I think they're going to run into a buzzsaw this weekend. But what Baker has done this year has been outstanding for him. I think he's had the most yards he's had in his career in a season, 4,000 yard passer. He's done a fantastic job this year for his career. And hopefully he gets that contract that warrants him to be able to stay in Tampa. And they may have found their solution to post Tom Brady.
I think you should sign him. I do.
What do you sign him for?
But what did Geno get?
What did Daniel Jones get?
To hell with that. I mean, you're not kidding. Are you kidding me?
You don't think he's going to? He
can ask for it. He can ask for whatever he wants.
No, sir, not happening.
No. Everybody knew that was a bad. Daniel Jones knew that was a bad contract by the Giants.
Probably.
So
Like,
Geno,
you're going to give this to me? Cool.
Geno got 3 years, $75 million. I mean, that's more than enough for Baker Mayfield.
25 a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's more than enough for Baker Mayfield's. They're similar.
And
in
Daniel
sense,
Jones got, was it 40 a year?
He got whatever he got overpaid. Let's see here. Those two players, Geno Smith and he got 4 years, $160 million.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's $40 million a year.
He ain't a $40 million quarterback. But they're two guys that you know what their limitations are. Like, we'll see Baker Mayfield's limitations this weekend in Detroit. I agree with you. This is going to be a different beast on Sunday. I think they play on Sunday or maybe Saturday. But Geno Smith, same thing with Geno Smith. At least you know he can be a solid placeholder. And for $25 million a year, that's not too bad to have a placeholder. You can still draft the quarterback. You can still have one eye toward the future. But I think if you're Tampa, I think he's earned the contract.
I think so as well. Like I said, he had a great year this year, best year of his career. Most stability, I would say, of his entire career.
I agree.
Like, just being able to show up to work every day and not worry, who's going to be the head coach in week 12? Like, not having to work, OC going to be here? Like, changing offenses that much. And for him to still have been plugging his way away, I think he's done a fantastic job this year. I just think they're going to run into a buzzsaw.
I agree. That's Carey Davis. I'm Anthony Stalter. Jamie Rivers out sick today. It's the Fast Line on 101 ESPN. We need a new Gauntlet contestant. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Text in Gauntlet. Maybe you have an opportunity to take on either Carey, me, or Marsh next.
4 categories, 1 challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
402, your time check is brought to you by Collection Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Carey Davis and Andrew Marsh. I'm Anthony Stalter. Time for the Gauntlet here in the Fast Lane, and we welcome in Todd. What's up, Todd?
Hey, how we doing today, boys?
Doing good. So no Gauntlet 2.0 or 1.0? First time?
I was the original winner on 1.0.
That's what I thought. I looked at Marsh and I said, is this the Todd? And Marsh goes, I don't know who the Todd is. So this is
that's the
Todd.
only reason. That's the only reason I made it through. It'll never happen again.
All right, the Todd. Welcome back. You
Thank
undeniable scumbag. No, I'm kidding. We love you.
I've been dying to get back on again.
It's been a while. It's been a while
It
for you.
has.
All right, so who are you taking on first, Carey, Marsh, or me?
I've never gone against Carey, so I'm going to go for Carey.
All right, sounds good.
I keep getting picked. I don't know how I feel about this.
Well, you lost the first two, but you won the last one, so you can even up your record here.
All right, let's do it.
Todd is formidable. I will say that.
I
But
can tell by his tone.
yeah, Todd means business.
Thanks, Carey.
All right, Carey, get yourself into the cone of silence. Todd, go ahead and tell Marsh to spin the wheel.
Spin that thing.
What are you hoping for, Todd?
I don't really care.
Okay.
I kind of miss Randy. I miss Rivers.
Random.
Yeah, I miss that stuff.
Well, the wheel spun baseball today.
That's good.
So you got baseball today. I feel like we haven't had baseball in a while.
I don't know if we've had. Well, actually, let me check. Let me check the stats real quick.
And if we have, maybe we had it once recently, but maybe Carey had it first.
We've had one baseball, and I did baseball, and I beat Ben to close out what could have been a Gauntlet championship.
Oh, that's
in the
right.
first get-go of Gauntlet 3.0.
That's right. All right.
I remember that. I actually beat BT to win the first ever trophy.
Did you?
Yep.
I remember you winning. I didn't know who you knocked off. All right, Todd.
BT was pissed.
I'm sure he was. He's a competitor. All right, so Carey is officially in the cone of silence. Todd, 4 questions, all worth 2 points. Unless you ask for the options, then they're worth 1 point. Are you ready?
Right on. Indeed.
All right, here we go. Newest Redbird, Andrew Kittredge, made the American League All-Star team in 2021 as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays. Who was the MVP of that Midsummer Classic? So who won the MVP in the 2021 All-Star game?
Where did they play that one? Give me the options.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Aaron Judge, Mike Trout.
I think it was Vlad Jr. Final answer.
Question number 2. Happy birthday to former Cy Young Award finalist Alek Manoah. Manoah won 16 games for the 2022 Blue Jays. But can you tell us Toronto's all-time leader in wins?
I know this. Give me the options, darn it.
Options are Pat Hentgen, or Hentgen, Roy Halladay, or Dave Stieb.
Halladay. Final answer.
Question number 3, Todd. 2 National League expansion clubs began play in 1969. The Montreal Expos and which other team?
69. Expos and I think it was the Mariners. Or is that too late? I'm going to shoot and say Mariners.
Final answer?
Yep.
Question number 4. Name the Cardinals' career leader in sacrifice flies with 75 of them.
Wow. 75 sack flies. I want to say Albert, but that's sack flies. Stay unusual. Final answer.
All right. We'll bring back Carey from the Cone of Silence. Todd, how you feeling?
Like always, 50-50.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough one. All right, Carey is making his way back from the Cone of Silence. He's got his coffee in hand. He's ready to rock.
All right.
Carey, how you feeling?
Feeling good.
Okay. The wheel.
Bag of snack.
Pack a snack, Todd said.
But all right.
The wheel spun baseball. Baseball
Haven't
is
had
your
baseball
category
yet.
today.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready as I can be.
Question 1. Newest Redbird, Andrew Kittredge, made the American League All-Star team in 2021 as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays. Who was the MVP of that Midsummer Classic?
Of the All-Star game? Give me the options.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Aaron Judge, or Mike Trout?
Let's go Vladdy. Final answer.
Question number 2. Happy birthday to former Cy Young Award finalist Alek Manoah. Manoah won 16 games for the 2022 Blue Jays, but can you tell us Toronto's all-time leader in wins?
Oh. I feel like this would be much easier with the options, so give me the options.
Options are Pat Hentgen,
Yeah.
Roy Halladay, or Dave Stieb.
No. That is not what I had in mind. Roy Halladay. Pat Hentgen? Common sense says you go with Halladay, but let's go with Dave Stieb. Final answer.
All right, Carey. Question 3. 2 National League expansion clubs began play in 1969. The Montreal Expos and who?
I don't want it. Options.
San Diego Padres, Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves.
Oh, Padres.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Question number 4. Name the Cardinals' career leader in sacrifice flies with 75 of them.
Sacrifice fly. So that would be somebody that played a long time. Maybe had an ability to lift. Oh. I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Stan Musial. Final answer. Probably should have took the options.
All right, let's start right there. Name the Cardinals' career leader in sacrifice flies with 75 of them. Carey, Todd, you both had the same answer, same thought. Neither of you took the options. Stan Musial was your answer. Correct answer is
Yadier Molina.
Yachty.
Oh, man.
It was Yachty. Stan the Man was an option, though.
Okay.
He was an option. 2 National League expansion clubs began play in 1969. The Montreal Expos and which other team? Todd, without the options, you said the Seattle Mariners. Carey, you took the options. We know the Mariners were not an option. You went with the San Diego Padres. Correct answer is
The San Diego
the
Padres.
San Diego Padres. So Carey's got a 1-0 lead. Newest Redbird, Andrew Kittredge, made the American League All-Star team in 2021, as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays. Who was the MVP of that Midsummer Classic? You both took the options. You both went with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Correct answer is
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
led the American League to a 5-2 win with a solo home run and 2 ribbies. Carey's got a 2-1 lead over Todd. It comes down to this question. Happy birthday to former Cy Young Award finalist Alek Manoah. Manoah won 16 games for the 2022 Blue Jays. But can you tell us Toronto's all-time leader in wins? Todd, you went with Roy Halladay. Carey, you went with Dave Stieb. If it is Dave Stieb or Pat Hentgen, Carey wins. If it's Roy Halladay, we've got a walk-off. Todd?
You have chosen poorly.
You lose. Not today.
You knew it was Dave Steve. I don't know if you looked it up or whatever, but Todd, Carey got you 3-1. He guessed on all of them, and he guessed right. Did a nice job. Todd, always a pleasure to have on these airwaves. I'm glad you tried again. I'm glad we got some revenge, though.
I deserved it. When I took the options, I didn't even hear Steve's name, and that was the first thing that popped in my brain, and I didn't even hear that.
Oh, really? No kidding. Yeah, you said you knew it too. You were like, I know this. So maybe once you heard Roy Halladay, it was like, I'm just going to go with the obvious choice there.
Yeah. Anyways,
good job, Todd.
Thanks, guys. You guys are the best.
No, thanks, Todd. We appreciate it. We like having you on the show, man. Thank you. We'll see you.
All right, take care, boys.
You too. Yeah, Todd won the first, like you said, he won the first ever Gauntlet 1.0, and then I think he had a buddy call in again. And he tried again. He won again or something. I don't know. Todd is the guy that gets on. You know, there's certain callers that always win stuff.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Todd gets in all the time. I don't know what he says. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does in back alleys to get on all the time. But he does it, and he does it well, and he's a hell of a nice guy, too.
Hey, you just got to get in, Anything can happen.
In. Anything can happen.
And that's the Cardinals' philosophy.
Yeah. And he lost.
Which is also a Cardinals model, I think. But will it be this year? That's next on 101 ESPN. conversation earlier about Mike Tomlin, whether or not he and the Steelers could decide to part ways. It's official. Mike Tomlin will be back.
There you go.
Mike Tomlin informed the team that he will return for the 18th season in Pittsburgh. Still yet to finish below 500 and 17 years on the job. Tomlin will return.
Was there ever really any question?
Yeah.
For who? People that don't know Pittsburgh or Mike Tomlin or the Steelers?
I just think that look at the situation with Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, halfway through the year, remember they made the trip, I think it was to London or Germany or one of the places.
Yeah.
And they had the report, Bill Belichick's job could be in danger.
After this game. Yeah, I remember that.
And my initial thought, just like you probably thought with Tomlin, was there's no way. There's no way the Patriots are going to move forward with it. So
I felt like that was different.
How?
I felt like the Patriots, that had run its course. You had multiple seasons since Tom Brady has left where that team has fallen apart.
Yeah, good call.
Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger has been gone for a few years. They haven't necessarily fallen apart.
Yeah.
They still finish above 500. They still, and I know, what difference does it make? You don't have a losing season. You ain't had a losing season.
Right.
And there are not Mike Tomlin said something a few years ago. I remember he was talking to Chase Young. And he was basically like, you know what? I'll never be able to get a guy as good as you. Because I'm never going to have a record bad enough to draft high enough to get a guy like you.
I like that.
Like, that's just what they are. They aren't able to get those high draft picks because they don't finish poor. They're always going to be in the division race. They're always going to be in the wild card race. They're always going to have an opportunity to make the playoffs. We laugh about just getting in. And, yeah, it's funny because that should not be your goal, right? I'm joking when I say that. You should actually want to win the division and then win a world championship, whether that's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But getting in, there is something to that. And if you have a team that is consistent year after year after year, and the product that you're putting on the field, it shows up. That team is not the same team without T.J. Watt. Yeah. There is no way they're going to win that game in Buffalo yesterday without T.J. Watt. There's no way they're going to win that game in Buffalo without a true definitive quarterback that leads that team to success in the manner in which it needs to be led. They need help in the trenches up front. They need help with some of the play calling because I still think that could be better. And the offensive philosophy and the quarterback has to be better. Mm-hmm. Defense, that defense could play with any defense I played on. There are players on that team now, a few of them that opted out of tackling yesterday. Have a conversation with them, but T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, those guys could play on our teams. And that's what you need to know about Steeler football. Those guys are going to show up and show out every single day, and Mike Tomlin is the coach of those guys. So eventually, hopefully, they'll get this quarterback situation corrected and the offensive philosophy mindset corrected.
So it is interesting as we transition to the Cardinals here. The Cardinals have we've done this before. We're like, who's the NFL team that's a comparison? And a lot of times you'll hear the Packers. Lately, I think it's the Steelers. The Steelers have had a lot of success under Mike Tomlin. Mm-hmm. They've won one Super Bowl. The Cardinals have had the team that you played on. They lost, and they also lost the Super Bowl.
Yep.
The Cardinals have had a ton of success under John Mozeliak. They've also had seasons where you felt like maybe Steelers fans do right now, where it's just, okay, yeah, great, we made the playoffs. That's fantastic. I'm happy. But I'm not satisfied. They're not. I know that this team can't go on the road and beat Buffalo, or they have to play a perfect game, or they have to make sure that they're completely healthy. And that is where I think Cardinals fans' frustrations is as well. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two teams. The Cardinals might be good enough to win the division this year. Are they good enough to win multiple playoff games? Absolutely not. You outlined how the Steelers can get back to that point.
Right.
You have to find an OC that knows what the hell he's doing, and of course you need the quarterback.
Right.
Easier said than done, but that is the path back.
Correct.
And you could do that under Tomlin. To me, the Cardinals, not just making the playoffs, not just winning the division, that path looks as follows. You have to build a dynamic pitching staff. Period. End of story. If you don't, and they don't have one now, could they win the division? Absolutely. Could they win a playoff series if things break well? Sure. You going to win more than that? Absolutely not. Don't kid yourself.
Well, isn't the difference, though, that Mike Tomlin is the head coach? He doesn't have the ability to decide who is on his team when it comes to Like, that's the front office's job. And you compare him to John Mozeliak. John Mozeliak does have that ability. So they're kind of different when you're comparing the two.
Yeah, I'm comparing the organizations.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not. If I was going to make the compare like Tomlin to Ollie, there's no comparison. But organization-wise, the Cardinals, you can't deny that the Cardinals have had success. Mm-hmm. They just haven't had the success that we have all been aching for, which is get in and have the team to make a serious run. You're not going to be the Dodgers. Cardinals fans aren't naive.
Right.
You're not going to be the Dodgers. You're not going to be the Braves. Not beat, but be the Braves. But can you be a much better version of yourself? Yeah. But you have to build a pitching staff that is filled with studs. You have to develop those guys. They have to make it and become damn near stars like Spencer Strider is in Atlanta. You have to retain them and continue to build the pitching staff. That's my opinion.
You do. You have to get better in that regard. And again, people don't like this answer from John Mozeliak, but they did take steps to be better in that regard for 2024. Is it that much better? Did you go from a D to a C plus? D minus to a C plus? It's better though, right?
Right, yeah.
So, and I don't know that this staff is a C plus staff. I don't know where they're going to be. I thought last year's staff would be much better than a D performance, but they just didn't perform well enough throughout as a group collectively, as a group to win enough games. I hope that this staff is better. I hope that we get pitchers past the 5th and 6th inning and allow guys to actually face the lineup the third time as opposed to, but that's a philosophical mindset from the front office as well. So if you're going to do that, you have to have a better bullpen. This whole team, pitching staff, needs to be better than it was last year. And I think if you're better with the pitchers, starters, bullpen, then your hitters will be better as well because there's less stress. Marcy talked about it. It's hard to win when you get to the bottom of the first inning and it's already 4-zip. Mm-hmm. It's tough. So if you get a pitching staff that keeps you in games, doesn't allow a bunch of hits, a bunch of runs, they can be a good team. Are they a NLCS winning team? I don't know. No one assumed that the Diamondbacks would be in the World Series last year either. Yeah. But that's kind of the exception to the rule. I think the Cardinals have to find another pitcher, in my opinion, another starter, and still fill out this bullpen with guys and can trust every night.
I think what's frustrating is the fact that I could get behind what they're doing if they're building off of a bad year and it's going to take 2 or 3 years, and that, right? Like, as a fan, okay, this is going to be a process. The problem is you have 2 great guys on the corners in your infield that you are essentially wasting away.
Yeah.
That is what's most frustrating. Yes. You can't go through a slight rebuild or whatever with those guys on your team. I'm not saying I don't want them on my team by any means, but what's frustrating is that you are, every single year, they are probably regressing. Hopefully they don't, but you have to build a team around those players. Why bring them in? Why bring them in if you're not going to give them the best opportunity to win?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why they came here.
Yeah,
they came here to win.
No question. They came here with the expectation to win a championship.
The Bears in 2006 had the best defense and the best special teams, not only for that season, but one of the best in that decade. Mm-hmm. The 2001 Ravens stand out in that decade more than the Bears. But with Devin Hester and the defense, it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
They did not have the offense.
No.
And when they tried to build the offense by getting Jay Cutler and some of these other guys, some of the receivers that they got,
Brandon Marshall,
Alshon Jeffrey, like when they Matt Forte, the running back, they try to build this offense. The defense started to get older.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they kind of got passed by a little bit. And they just wound up being slightly above average. They got the Super Bowl because they were elite in 2 of the 3 areas of the game. They were just so bad offensively that they couldn't beat Peyton Manning, and not a lot of teams could. My point in bringing this up is that Yeah, they did get Nolan Arenado. Mm-hmm. Yes, they did get Paul Goldschmidt. Yes, they did draft Jordan Walker and Brendan Donovan and Tommy Edman and Mason Wynn. But the offense, because you invested so much in the offense, it has surpassed your pitching, and your pitching now is not good enough at any level to get you back to
even keel.
Even keel, yeah. And hell, you shouldn't be even keel. Your better. Pitching should be significantly better. This is why I said what I did before about the 2019 NLCS. We love to say the offense failed them. Mm-hmm. No, the Nationals pitching propelled them.
Right.
They need to. You want to win a World Series. You want to beat the Dodgers. You want to beat the Braves. You want to beat the Phillies along the way. Get a pitching staff that is so good it becomes suffocating for the other team.
Right.
They don't have that. They're not close to that, and therefore that, in my opinion, is why they're going to fall short again.
Here to me is when the Cardinals are where they are. And if you were to say, you know what, we're probably a couple of years from being at that peak that we need to be at, because you got young players. You got Jordan Walker. You got Mason Wynn. Lars is still a younger guy. You got Nolan Gorman. You expect Victor Scott to be in your outfield at some point, maybe this season, maybe the beginning of next year. Herrera, you got enough young guys that can be your core to where you should be trying to get that ace. Implement, whether it's signing him in free agency or whether it's developing him throughout your system so that he can be ready, or they can be ready, two of them at least, be ready when Jordan Walker and all of those guys are at their peak. When they get 25, 26, 27, that's your time to really push. But are the Cardinals willing to say that? Are they willing to actually do that? Or are they just going to do just enough to appease the masses, so we'll get off our backs? We did what we said we're going to do. We're going to be, and that's the mindset of
that's the problem.
Just win the division.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you take a step back. Hell, you took a step back last year and wasn't planning on it. So what difference does it make?
And now they just got back to where they were before.
There you go.
That's the problem, Carey.
You
and I are on the same page.
No question.
You're right in that they got better, but you took such a step back last year,
and you weren't trying to.
I'm not gonna praise you because you got back to average. Sorry, I'm not gonna sit.
You gotta start somewhere.
No, I'm not gonna throw you roses because you did what you were supposed to do, and you got three pitchers to occupy the three spots that were open. You did the bare minimum. Now, if you drafted studs that are coming up, Tink Hence and Mike McGreevy and all that, I will gladly praise you for that.
Right.
But I'm not going to pat you on the back because you'd got Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson said, we're better. You are. But you're so far. You took such a step back last year, dude. You got a long way to go.
Yeah. We are in agreement there.
High five. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Let's take a quick look at the NFL division preview here. NFL divisional round preview. We do have Joe Vitale coming up in 15 minutes to talk more Blues hockey. But NFL divisional round first look next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues lost to the Flyers last night by a final score of 4-2. They'll be back in action Thursday, taking on the Washington Capitals. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6. We'll talk with Joe Vitale here in about 10 to 15 minutes, so stay tuned for that. Once again, Blues Capitals Thursday. Pregame at 5, puck drop at 6. The NFL Divisional round is set with the Ravens taking on the Texans, the Bills hosting the Chiefs, 49ers going up against the Packers, and the Lions going up against the Bucs. We'll dive into the NFL Divisional round with our first look. That's coming up next right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Carey Davis, Andrew Marsh. I'm Anthony Stalter. Appreciate everybody tuned in today. We do have Joe Vitale coming up in less than 10 minutes. The NFL divisional round matchups following yesterday's Bills and Bucs victories, respectively, are now set. On Saturday afternoon, 3:30 kickoff in Baltimore, you'll have the Texans and Ravens. 7:15 local time, Packers and 49ers. And then on Sunday, 2 o'clock kickoff here in St. Louis between the Bucs and the Lions. And then the Chiefs and Bills square off at 5:30 local time. That's your Sunday afternoon game. I said this before. I don't have as good of a feel for these matchups as I did in the divisional rounds, but the more I think about it, I actually feel like I do.
Yeah.
Well, let's start off with the Texans and Ravens. I don't think that the Texans, are going to be able to run the ball. They haven't really ran the ball effectively this season a lot. C.J. Stroud has been incredible. They've done just a sensational job of getting to this point. I loved him against the Browns. The Browns had some injury issues, and as I mentioned before, Cleveland was a different team on the road than they were at home. This is going to be a different beast, though. Baltimore is sitting ready for you. That's a team that looked like he was still practicing deep into the year when most teams don't because they're so banged up. They're relatively healthy. They can run. They can run the ball in a variety of ways. They've got weapons, and defensively, might be one of the most underrated defenses in the league.
No question. They are defensively. They lead the league in points allowed. That's scoring. They are top of the NFL.
Is that good?
That's really good. That means you ain't going to let people score very often. And that generally helps you win games when you have an MVP caliber player at quarterback and doing the things that they're doing offensively. And I think you hit the nail on the head. They have not. Because Lamar has done Lamar things this year and you know, he's been vying for the NFL MVP all year. I think that defense has gotten overlooked a lot. But Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, sign me up. Right, I think those two guys making tackles, I like it. I like what they do defensively, and they've done a great job. And I just think you're going to see C.J. Stroud has not looked like a rookie quarterback really at any point this season. He's had an outstanding year, but I think he's going to look like a rookie on Sunday. I think
Saturday. Yeah, the first game.
He's going to look like a rookie on Saturday.
I do too.
And I think that this Ravens defense is going to get after him, and you're looking at a 28-35 to 14 win. I think that's what the score is because you're seeing the maturation of Lamar in this new offense as well. This first year offense. It's just gotten better and better and better. And that final game where he threw 5 touchdowns, we talk about a Heisman moment for college football. That was his MVP moment.
Sure.
There's no question. I think he solidified himself as the MVP of the year with that performance. And so I am of the mindset that this game won't be close because Houston has had a Cinderella-type run, but it'll end in Baltimore on Saturday.
Does his playoff record concern you?
I was going to ask that, but what Carey just said is you have to say, okay, let's look at it. Let's look at how it was. Let's look at how it is now. The thing that has changed is Todd Monken. Todd Monken has developed an offense that will elevate Lamar, and Lamar can elevate the rest of the players around him. That was not the case in previous years under Greg Roman. Not even close.
It was terrible.
And it took a little while. Carey, I remember you and I were doing a podcast for the Gridiron guys. Early on, you were like, it's still not, it looks okay, but it's still not what I expected. But at the end of the year, I think it looked what you expected.
Yeah, it more opened up, more explosive, big plays. You got big play receivers. You got guys that, and Mark Andrews being hurt took a toll on them.
Yes.
I think it took a while for them to kind of, Isaiah Likely
is a good player.
He has figured it out.
Real good
That's
player.
Anthony's favorite
He has
player.
figured it out.
I love
Isaiah Likely has figured it out. So they are doing some things, and it is making their offense a lot better.
Yeah. Packers and 49ers, and we'll end on this one here just because we want to get to Joe Vitale on time. But Packers, 49ers, I think the problem is, look, Green Bay coming off the win against Dallas. Everybody's going to remember that. Everybody's going to like them. Everybody's going to, if you're looking at it like from a spread standpoint, a lot of people are going to take the points because they're 10-point underdogs. Here's the problem. Joe Barry, as good as that defense looked last week, Mike McCarthy made 0 adjustments, and it really was a good fit for what Dallas wants to do. Green Bay's going to take away the deep shots. Dallas thrives off the deep shots. San Francisco does not.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They just catch and run.
They will take 7 yards here, 4 yards there, 22 yards there, and they'll do it in a variety of ways, and they'll do it with a variety of players. They don't care. They're going to hang about 38 on Green Bay, and unfortunately, this is where the Jordan Love train stops. And the 49ers, again, well-rested, really good pass rush. I think that secondary can be exposed, but other than that, these are going to be 2 games where they might have a good feel early on, but eventually the 2 number 1 teams are going to pull away.
I don't know how the secondary gets exposed when they have pressure in Jordan Love's face all day.
That's the ultimate key, right? You can have an average secondary.
Greenlaw, Warner, they are going to get after the quarterback,
right,
and stop the run.
I don't know.
You like Green Bay.
I don't
like Green Bay.
I don't like Green Bay. I like Green Bay in this game. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you think.
Really?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned, we saw Green Bay play last week, but that team has been playing playoff football for about a month now.
Yes, you're right.
And you mentioned earlier in the season when the 49ers go down, they have a tough time coming back.
Yeah, when they trail in games.
Yep. If Green Bay can do what they did early in this game like they did against Dallas, we'll see how the 49ers adjust.
That's their best shot. They have to take a similar approach. They're going to be aggressive. If they can get a lead, it might change things.
Well, they have nothing to lose.
No,
no one expected them to win in Dallas except for me and Jamie and probably everyone else that expected Dallas to lose in the first round. But, I don't think people expected Jordan Love to be in this situation. They did not expect Green Bay to be in this situation halfway through the season.
No, you're right. Joe Vitale, he'll come up next. We'll talk a little bit about the Blues game last night and move beyond that, too, and his thoughts on the power play improving. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Vitale views things a little differently. Just imagine how he looks at hockey. Whoa. This is The View from Vitale, brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Well, the Blues fell last night at home to the Philadelphia Flyers, and joining us to talk all things Blues is our guy Joe Vitale with Carey Davis. I'm Anthony Stalter. Joe, how you doing?
Stalter, I'm doing great today, buddy. How are you guys?
Well, doing good. Not a great performance last night by the Blues. Ultimately, what do you think was their downfall?
I think the downfall was execution. I think that, Drew Bannister, I think he's done a really good job in his press conferences. I think he's been direct with his answers. I think he's been very honest, but not over the top where he's made anyone look bad. From a standpoint, he's been really good. And last night he addressed it. He said, listen, it was an execution problem. It was a problem of us not being ready to go. We weren't engaged early enough. We fell behind after 2 periods. We got outplayed badly in those first 2 periods. And yes, there was a little bit of life in the third, but you can't play a good Philadelphia Flyers team for just, 16, 17 minutes and expect to have success. I mean, really the only reason why it was so tight to the very end was because of their backstopper and Joel Hofer. He was terrific again last night.
Joey, we were talking about it. The Blues just looked like they were chasing that game the entire time, trying to get into it. What happens when a team is performing like that? What is the mindset, or what's going on? Why they're unable to get to it right away?
Well, I mean, it's different games, Carey. I think the last night, what I saw was that, Philly, you gotta tip your hat to them because they came out fast, they came out aggressive, but they played very tight defensively, and they played it pretty consistently throughout the game. So when you have a team that is not allowing things to the middle of the ice, it's a very frustrating style. I mean, I think that the Philadelphia Flyers really, they took the Blues game plan, they brought it to perfection, and they used it against the Blues. I mean, the way that Philly defended last night, that is exactly the way the Blues have been wanting to defend, and they have been doing a pretty good job of it. A little bit inconsistent as of late, but overall, this is exactly the game they want to play. I mean, look at that top line last night with Thomas, Carey, and Buchnevich. How many times did we see them in the offensive zone make 1 good pass, 2 good passes, and right when they made that third pass, it got deflected, taken away through the middle. I think Philly's sticks were so disciplined towards the middle of the ice, taking away lanes. And it became frustrating that the Thomas, Carey, and Buchnevich grouping, for example, couldn't get more shots and more pucks manifesting at the front of the net. But that was because of that Philly tight defense where everything was taken away through the middle. Now, what happens, to answer your question, as you do that at the beginning of the first period, what happens? Teams begin to get a little bit frustrated. You're thinking, oh, man, maybe this isn't our night. Or, oh, man, Philly's on top of it. Or just don't get any rhythm. We get to the offensive zone. We're there for 10 seconds. We're right back out again. So you find yourself in this weird rhythm as a player where you do start to chase the game. You wonder if you're ever going to break through, and it could be a very frustrating style, and you can get discouraged throughout it. So I think that Philly really set the tone early in it. They weren't going to allow anything to the middle. They were deflecting passes, taking away that guts of the ice right in front where you get all the dangerous areas. And I think the Blues, eventually just got a little bit frustrated with it, and it kind of took away a lot of their will in the first 40 minutes. But overall, like I said, a good bounce back in the third after the Saad equalizer. Just unfortunately wasn't enough as Philly continued to bring the heat. No one tipped it. A beautiful goal there in the third period to seal it off.
Joe Vitale joining us right now on the Fast Lane on 101 at ESPN. Joe, the power play, though, we got another goal last night. It looks great after making some changes, after Drew Bannister made some changes. Is it as simple as just get in front of the net and good things happen? Because we saw it again on the Sundqvist goal last night.
It's a little bit of that, Stoltz, but it's well educated of an assessment when shooters are shooting it. You have to have a good analysis of what's down there before just throwing it. So I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want fans to think it's just mindlessly throwing pucks there with bodies there. It's not. We're not barbaric hockey. We're not talking. These shooters. They have their head up and they're looking for signs. And there's 2 big things. When a guy from the outside, like a Colton Parayko, for example, or let's call it a Scott Pernovich, when they're at the point and we're on the half wall and they're looking at the net, they're not just throwing it there with the net firm presence. They're looking for 2 things. Number one, you're looking for a net firm presence that's taking away the goalie's eyes. Sundqvist is really good about it. A good net front guy on top of the blue paint. You're backing your rear end up on the goalie, but you're not creeping into his space where the goal's going to get called back. but your job is to put your body in front of the eyesight of the goaltender. When a shooter sees that, like a Thomas the other night we saw when he threw it down to Carey for the neighbors' goals 2 games ago against the Rangers, he was at the point. He picks his head up, and he sees it as a good net firm presence. That's number one. Take away the goalie's eyes. Number 2 is, do we have the potential to create a 2-on-1 at the net if there's a rebound? And that's where I'll go back to that Thomas goal, the neighbor's goal from Thomas at the point. Thomas in that Rangers game, he's at the point. He's right next to Colton Parayko. He picks his head up, and it's a pretty innocent wrist shot that gets to the net. But what does he see? He sees Carey and Neighbors in front of the net. Excuse me, this was actually the Boston game because it was Charlie McAvoy. He saw those 2 players on Charlie McAvoy, so he throws it there. It's a juicy rebound, and then it's a 2-on-1. So then, of course, Carey slides it between McAvoy's legs, and it goes to Jake Neighbors for a great goal. So the shooters on the outside, yes, throwing pucks there is important, but you got to have a big guy in front taking away the goalie's eyesight, and you want to ultimately create 2-on-1s down low in front of the net, and that's what the Blues have done very well of. You call it the junkyard goals or the broken play goals, whatever you want to call it. But there is some rhythm, there's some rhyme to it. It's not just carelessly throwing pucks there. It's done with well intention.
Joey, is there any concern about the number of shots on goal that they allow each night?
Yeah, there is, Carey, because your goalies aren't Superman. You're not Batman. You're not invincible. You're going to have goaltenders that are going to have bad nights, or quite frankly, you're going to have goalies that are going to have average nights. I mean, if Joe Hofer had an average night last night, the Blues probably should have lost that game, 5-1, 6-2 on an average night, and that's not even considered maybe a bad night where he gets pulled. These goalies they've been doing your job. They have been doing their job. I said on the post game last night, you can say what you want about this team. Yeah, their inability to climb 4 games plus over 500 all season long. I think it was the 8th opportunity they tried to last night. They didn't. Or it was the 9th opportunity. They still can't get over that. Now they fall only 2 games over 500. The special teams have been issues periodically throughout the year. Secondary scoring, a little bit of an issue. Dealt with some injuries with Falk and Buchnevich. You say what you want, and there has been some ups and downs for this Blues team. But one thing that has been extremely consistent is the goaltending. This is not a goaltending issue here. I think the way Binnington's been playing, the way he shows up, the way Joe Hofer continues to battle every single night. Last night was no exception. He takes the loss, but my goodness gracious, he made some dandy saves, and he kept this team 1 shot away from tying it with just over 2 minutes to go in the game, which the Blues should have been in that position. But it was certainly because of the backstopper and Joe Hofer and Binnington. They've been terrific.
Joe, looking forward here, we have the Capitals that get a home and home, I think, right? He's got 2 against the Capitals coming up. When it comes to finding consistency, that's been one of the things all season long, and Carey and I were talking about earlier. This team has a pair of 3-game winning streaks, and that's it. Is there a magic formula when it comes to building those 4, 5, 6 winning streaks so that you can actually make some noise in the standings?
Well, it's going to need to happen. I don't know the exact answer for you, Stalt. I think if I did, I would be in a coach's position, probably not talking to you, fine fellow.
Fair.
But listen, I do love talking to you, fine fellow. So I'm not saying I want to be in that position, but every team, of course, wants to put on an 8-9 game run, like we're seeing with the Seattle Kraken. For example, every team is desperately trying to get to that. Or look what the Edmonton Oilers have done. I mean, they have just gone on a complete tear after their slow start to the season. Unfortunately, not every team can do that. It just does not work out mathematically. But the reality is this: St. Louis and his Blues team, they're going to need to get to 10, 11, 12 games over 500 to figure out a way to get into the playoffs. That's what it's going to come down to. We're past the halfway point of the season. As they sit 2 games over 500, like I said, they've tried mercilessly, to get that 4 game over 500. They tried, I think, 9 attempts now, and they haven't gotten there. What's it going to take to get over the hump? Is it going to be some young kid coming up like Matthew Kessel, and maybe he goes on a run? Maybe Jake Neighbors gets hot again. Maybe the power play continues to excel, and then one other thing starts to click. You do need multiple things to click in order to put a 6, 7, 8, 9 game stretch together. Or you go back to 2019 when they put 11 game stretch together. Of course, that huge stretch got them back in that playoff picture. But you look at that stretch, you were getting different aspects. You had the goaltending one night, then the next night it was the power play. Then it was the fourth line getting 2 goals. Then it was your backstopper getting a shutout. I mean, it was just different things every single game. And I remember that consistently in that run, players were just saying, whatever it is, everyone's contributing on a different night to figure out a way to win. And right now, this team, you get the goaltending one night, but then the special teams falls off. But then the special teams really good, and then maybe you lack secondary score. It just seems like there's one little thing missing on each night, which prevents them from kind of really climbing the standings. But this team is fully aware that a good 6, 7, 8 game run is going to be needed. You're looking at an 8-2 stretch, and then maybe a 5-1 stretch at some point to really put yourself in a good position to make the playoffs. So it's coming down to crunch time. It's coming down to desperate hockey. That first week of March, of course, is the trade deadline. And guys, we're 4 to 6 weeks away from that. So it really does kind of show you that it really is time to really put up and shut up for the St. Louis Blues team because they know what's at stake.
Joe, good stuff as always. Looking forward to your call in a couple of days as the Blues take on the Capitals in D.C.
Sounds good, fellas. You guys have a great week.
You too. Thanks, Joe. Joe Vitale here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. We have our Sports Six-Pack coming up, so if you got a question for us, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Again, the 314-399-9646 Air Comfort Service text line is now open for your sports questions. Sports Six-Pack next.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 at ESPN 501. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Super Bowl champion Carey Davis. I'm Anthony Stalter. No Jamie Riverstead. He's out sick. Andrew Marsh has your questions for the Sports Six-Pack.
Question number 1.
From the 618, what does Dak Prescott's legacy and future look like after another one-and-done playoff exit?
How many years he got left on this contract?
Let's take a look, shall we?
He will sign a new contract. I think he's up after next year. I believe they were talking about re-signing him, but
yeah. So he has. There's a potential out in 2024.
Yeah,
but the dead cap. So there's really not. The dead cap is 61.9. million.
He's playing for the Dallas Cowboys next year. He'll probably re-sign and get a new contract. He's 31 years old. He will be 31, or he is 31. He will have a new contract after probably going into 2024.
Right.
Because what else are you going to do?
Yep.
This is the world we live in.
Yeah, he fits in that same boat as a Kirk Cousins, as a, name the quarterback that was good enough to be considered a franchise quarterback, but also one that you knew probably weren't going to win anything.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is a good,
made a lot of money.
Move on from Phillip Rivers? No. Are you going to move on from Dak Prescott? What are my options?
Who else is in that conversation
right now?
Just in history,
Tony Romo,
another
quarterback for Dallas.
Yeah, Tony Romo wasn't going to win you a Super Bowl, but were you going to move on?
Dan Marino.
He was elite. Super Bowl.
I think if Russ doesn't win that one Super Bowl, you would put him in that conversation. But
I think that's fair.
I think he still is in that conversation.
Jared Goff, you're going to move on.
There you go.
Were you not going to pay Jared Goff for the Rams?
You're going to pay him.
You were going to pay him.
Yep.
And now, obviously, the Lions continue to pay him.
That's intriguing.
Right now, I would also put, Tua is going to fall into that category at some point.
Probably.
So then it gets back to.
Is Justin Herbert in that, or is he? Do you think he's past?
Let's wait till he gets a competent head coach, and then we'll have the conversation.
You know what? I agree with that.
Yeah, as of right now, I still think that he can be an elite quarterback.
There are a lot of quarterbacks that fit that mold. Like, it's so hard to find, and that's why the Dallas Cowboys are going to pay him. Because where the hell are you going to find one at?
Right.
They ain't walking the street
until you have a better option. This has been my point. This has been my point about Justin Fields. The difference between Justin Fields and everybody else is that the Bears have an option. They have an option with the number 1 overall pick. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys don't have it. Do you have a better option than Dak Prescott?
No.
Even when you know he can't get you over the hump, and because he hasn't, what is your better option right now?
I don't have one.
That's the difference between ideal and realistic.
Yeah.
Ideally, you would find somebody to help you win a Super Bowl. Realistically, Dak Prescott is your only option to get you to that point.
You got to figure out the running game. That'll help. Tony Pollard ain't the one by himself.
That's unfortunate too, because he was a better. How much do you factor in the injury too? I know where you're going, Zeke, him, and you don't question the injury at all. It's all Zeke.
It's the two-headed monster. I don't think he's a 1A running back. You got to be a different kind of guy to carry that ball 25 times a game for 17 games.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I'll go blank myself.
Question number 2.
From the 618, which will happen first? The Cards make it to a World Series, or the Dallas Cowboys make it to a Super Bowl?
Ooh. Got to be the Cardinals.
I think so, too.
You got to be the Cardinals. The Dallas Cowboys look like they are. When I watched that game, man, that was some of the worst football at home. Like, Jimmy Johnson at halftime was so fired up.
That was great.
It was amazing, wasn't it? He was so fired up about what he was watching from that Dallas Cowboys team. They should have went into halftime with 0 points on the board if Campbell for the freaking Packers catches the pick at the goal line, the linebacker.
Devondre Campbell.
He drops it. They shouldn't have scored at all.
Yeah.
They looked out of sorts. They looked unprepared. They looked like one of the worst teams I've ever seen in an NFL playoff game that I can recall.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Eagles were pretty bad.
Well, the Eagles were on the road.
That's true.
The Dallas Cowboys were at home versus the worst team to get to the playoffs, essentially.
Yeah.
The 7th seed. They're playing the worst team. The Packers got in with a quarterback that ain't played 20 games in his career.
He also was red hot, though.
I get
Over
it.
8 games. It's not like
wonderful.
It was 2 games.
Just stop telling me that you're America's team then.
Yeah, I gotcha. I still think it's the Cowboys, though. The
You think
Cowboys.
the Cowboys get there
The Cowboys
before the Cardinals?
First of all, the Cowboys. What team made the playoffs last year? The Cowboys or the Cardinals?
No, the Cowboys.
What team was hosting a playoff game this past season? What team was the 2 seed?
What are you saying?
The Cowboys.
Anthony?
The Cowboys. The Cardinals need an entire pitching staff.
They got 3 pitchers, Anthony. They told you.
Here's the thing, Anthony.
I see where this is going. Okay.
As much as we like to rip on the Cardinals, they aren't the Dallas Cowboys who continue to be fraudulent in the playoffs. Oh, wait.
Wait a minute.
This is a tougher question.
I see what you're doing here,
But at
Marsh.
least the Cardinals have 2 World Series in my lifetime, whereas the Cowboys...
There you go. What year were you born, Marshy?
96.
Oh, yeah. You.
Carey and I saw him win 4 times.
I did. I saw him.
Man, that must have sucked watching those teams.
Yeah, they're pretty fun, honestly.
I didn't like it. I was a 49ers fan. I hated it.
See, I
hated it.
Well, I was an idiot Falcon fan, so I was not rooting for the 49ers.
Well, you were a
hell
Dion
no.
fan.
I was a Dion fan, and I was ticked when he went to the Niners.
I was happy.
I was ticked when he went to the Niners. When he went to the Cowboys, I'm like, at least it's not the 49ers.
I was mad when he went to the Cowboys. Very disappointed in him.
Niners. It's funny too because I respect Bill Walsh. I just admire what he did. But this is now in my adulthood. When I was a kid, I hated the Niners.
Question number 3.
From a 314, if Lamar Jackson loses this game, what does it say about him? He would be 1-4 in the playoffs.
It would say that he's got an issue. He's got a playoff problem. You really can't dispute that.
No.
If you lose to the Texans, and the Texans have been a great story. They've been fantastic. We
Probably
love
the story
watching.
of the year.
They've been the story of the year. Nobody had the closest anybody got within like our show was me saying they're better than what you think.
Yeah.
I did not have them in the playoffs. I did not have them in the winning the division. I did not have them winning a playoff game. But if you lose to that team, and your playoff record is what it is, you've got a playoff problem if you're Lamar.
Yeah, you do. I think when we were doing our gridiron guys, when they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, speaking of the Texans, I think I said at that point that it let me know about Jacksonville, but it really let me know about Houston beating them in Jacksonville. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you're not going to lose this game. You
shouldn't.
You should not lose this game unless something catastrophic takes place. Lamar Jackson, better offensive coordinator, better offense, better team than what the Houston Texans are bringing to the table this weekend. So I don't think they should win. But if they find a way to lose this game, if the Ravens find a way to lose this game, you definitely look at Lamar and question, well, what the hell is going on with you, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Question number 4.
What is your problem?
From the 314, now that the Pick'em Challenge is over, are you and the Riz Show cool again? I hate when mommy and daddy fight.
Well, here's the thing. We never start the fight. We always finish it. So if they're done squabbling, then we're done. It sounds like they're done.
They sent the concession speech.
Yeah, they sent a very so-so will concede.
Yeah. Could have been better.
It could have been better.
Yeah.
And the person I blame is the leader. If you're Riz, you got to take charge. You're the leader. You're the one everybody's looking at. We could talk about Moon complaining constantly. We could talk about Learn manipulating situations. We could talk about Rafe doing his thing.
Just cracking a joke.
Just cracking a joke from time to time. We could talk about King Scott and that beautiful mane of hair.
It is wonderful. It is glorious.
But you're the leader. You got to set the tone.
Yeah.
So when your crew is complaining constantly after losses,
starts at the top, as they say.
That's your fault. Mm-hmm. But no, we're cool. Yeah, and we will. We do have to come to a consensus here on what that photo shoot is going to look like.
Oh yeah. We should get some texts and get some ideas.
Absolutely, start sending them in because our victory as much as your victory.
It is.
It's as much as your victory as it is our victory. Mm-hmm. When you're a Fast Lane listener, even the 618 who was constantly rooting against us, still your victory, 618, because you're a Fast Lane listener and we appreciate you.
Yep.
Question number 5.
Send us your ideas for that photo shoot.
From From the 404, I know you guys won't answer my question because you ignore my area code.
I love these.
But I'd like somebody to tell me why the Blues don't shoot the puck when they have clear opportunities. Last night was a good example. They look like a couple of kids in college playing passing games when they should shoot the puck and go for the rebound.
Yelling it loud enough.
This will obviously be a better question for Jamie and Marsh. First of all, I love when you read those, and it happens a fair amount. That's why I love it. You guys won't answer my question. When Jamie has talked about this in the past, it is just a matter of being cute, like being too cute, looking for that extra pass, trying to set up a teammate, thinking he might have a better opportunity than the one that's in front of you. If I just make that one extra pass, it's going to be an easier or a clearer shot attempt as opposed to just getting the puck to the net and taking your shot from there. That is what Jamie has said in the past. We obviously don't know when you're on the ice.
It's happening fast.
It's happening fast. Yeah. It's happening in real time. You don't have the benefit of hindsight. You're not breaking down from a 200-foot view how it's looking like. But when Jamie's talked about it in the past, again, it's getting a little too cute. One extra pass, and then that window closes too quickly.
And sometimes you have to be selfish. You have to be the one to shoot it as opposed to trying to make the perfect play.
Yep.
Sometimes the perfect play is the shot on goal.
No doubt.
And maybe there's a rebound there.
No doubt.
Then you put the puck in the net.
Preferably.
Let's get in the box.
I mean, you don't hear people at the arena yelling, pass! Pass it!
You don't.
Pass the puck! Actually, some people do. Some people do.
Some people yell the pass.
Like, pass the puck.
Right.
Instead of skating it out of the zone and losing it at the blue line. You never want to turn the puck over at your blue line or the other team's blue line.
No, you're right. You got to clear that thing.
Like, move the puck. Maybe it's not pass the puck. It's just move the puck.
Move the puck.
Move it. We're standing behind the net for 5 seconds too long.
Yeah.
Maybe the puck gets flipped out of play, and now you're on the penalty kill. I've seen it happen many times.
Marsh, you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong.
Or just shoot the puck.
Yeah, they could do that too.
Yep.
Question number 6.
Preferably.
All right, a lot of texters like the idea of the Dewitt selling the Cards.
Oh, wow.
The 314. Why don't you like the idea of the DeWitts selling the team?
We'll tell you next on 101 ESPN. When it comes to feeling low on energy, not yourself, unmotivated in all aspects of your life, why don't you check out Mentality? That's what Jamie and I did. Jamie went first. Jamie took the plunge and said, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. He had been run down. He's working a bunch of jobs. He wasn't getting in the gym consistently, and when he was, he didn't feel like he was, putting up enough weight to actually make a difference or getting on the treadmill enough. He was unmotivated, and that led to inconsistencies not only at the gym but in other aspects too. And he's just run down. He was tired of it, so he went down to Mentality. He sat down with them, talked to them about their program, jumped on their program, which is specified for him, and now he feels fantastic. And he could do the Bally Sports and West thing. He could come here to 101 ESPN. He's bounced around. He feels excellent. Same with me. He took me down to Mentality. I did the same deal where I chatted with them. I was honest about how I was feeling. I was feeling run down as a guy. Our testosterone levels, they start to decrease. You don't feel as good. You're not as sharp. You're not as focused. You don't feel right. So when you head down to Mentality, tell Jamie and Anthony sent you in there. Do the same thing. If you're tired of it and you want to do something about it, go see them in one of their 2 locations or check them out at lowtusa.com. So our last question, the Sports Six Pack, was about the Cardinals ownership group. And there's a lot of, Marsh, I don't want to say a lot of people, but there's like this growing sentiment that if things are really going to change with the Cardinals and their spending habits and being more aggressive and all that, then it's got to be an ownership change. Why aren't you guys on board with that? Because you could do something first. I have said this in the past. A lot of you think that the Cardinals care about what idiots like me say. They don't.
What do they care about?
You.
There you go.
Carey, not you, but you listening that's a Cardinals fan that's willing to spend. But I'm sure they care about you as a human. No, in all seriousness, they care about you filling their stadium. They care about you being interested in the product. Why are they profitable? Year in and year out. Because you care.
Because 3 million people show up to games.
They go through the turnstiles. You guys go through the turnstiles. You watch them. They collect. And they've got
concession stand,
parking, all that.
Yeah.
You go to Ballpark Village. If you don't like the product and you're texting in to these airwaves, yelling at me or yelling at Carey or yelling at Marsh or Jamie or any of the other shows, we're not doing our job holding Mo accountable. You're delusional. I'm sorry. You are. You are delusional. You matter more than I do. You matter more than Carey and Marsh and Jamie and everybody else on these airwaves, because you can make a difference about whether or not the Cardinals are going to change the philosophy. Otherwise, you've got great ownership that do care, but they're making money.
And they're in it to make money.
Yes.
Okay. Because I think that part gets left out sometimes or misunderstood. Because the notion that they should spend, as we said, like the LA Dodgers, like the New York Mets or the Yankees, because you want to win a championship. That's your mindset as a fan. That's not their mindset as the owner of a team.
I think it is, but you're right. It's also to make money. I think the ownership cares about the team winning.
Yeah, but okay.
In relation to them,
more about
making
money, or more about winning championships.
I don't know the DeWitts.
Okay,
I do believe that they are diehard baseball fans, but you don't get to where you are without being smart with your investments.
Exactly. So you don't overspend on things and lose out on money.
Right.
So for me, And I don't know them either. I don't know if it's the percentages one over the other, but I do know that they are in business to have business and make money.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that
they like owning the team.
But at the end of the day, they also like making money from the ownership of the team.
Right. That's what I mean.
Oh,
they like owning the team.
There you go. Because
so they want to be profitable.
There you go.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Yes.
That's important to them. And so I'm not you hit the nail on the head. If you don't like how things are going collectively, the best way to go about it is to stop showing up. Mm-hmm. I think the Cardinal fans did that last year. I thought when you looked at some of those games in late July, August, you could see, well, there ain't a lot of people there. And the attendance they put on the board, maybe that's it. Maybe that's tickets sold and people just didn't come.
Right.
But at some point, that number will be lower as well because the tickets won't be sold and they also won't be coming. So in order to get your point across with anything, you have to make your point loud and clear.
Here's the thing, though. This is just my opinion. Wouldn't they then not spend on players because there aren't people coming through and they're not making the money that they did? So why would they spend? Then they have to go a different route.
Sure. I don't think that's a bad idea either. We're just talking about winning, right? I mean, that's I think we spend way too much time talking about spending because we think it equates to winning. It may, a la the Rangers. It may not, a la the Padres, the Mets, and the Diamondbacks. It might help you. It might not. But you have to build a winner.
Here's the thing, though. Like, those teams are spending ludicrous amount of money on multiple players. Yeah. Right? This team, like, they can find ways to spend a decent amount of money on one guy and then supplement them with better talent, though. They don't do that.
But this is right. Exactly. It's not. Maybe you and I are saying the same things, but in different ways. I think for you, Marsh, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think for you, the idea is supplement with, you don't have to spend the big time money, but supplement on other free agents.
Yes.
Bring in other guys that are complementary, right?
Yes.
To me, I have always believed you draft those guys.
Yes, you need to do that too. They don't do any of it.
They have
drafted them.
They have from a player, from a position.
They traded them.
This goes back to our earlier conversation. When you overly invest in your offense like the Cardinals have, and you're willing to sell your soul to get that offense, there are consequences. The bill came due. The bill came due last year, guys. Not for the Randy. Talk about the Randy or Rosarina trade all you want. I don't care. The bill came due on the Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallen trade, guys.
Well, then why do other teams have good offenses and they also have good pitching? Like, you have to be smarter and have the foresight to know that your pitching in 5 years from the amount of time that they made the Ozuna trade is not. You have to have the foresight. They didn't.
You're right. You're absolutely right. What I'm saying is they went all. I'm not saying you can only have one or the other. What I'm saying is they invested wholly in the offense.
Yeah.
They invested wholly in the offense. All the resources.
And the offense would strand runners.
Correct.
So is the offense even really that great?
Well, I've asked that before, too. I've asked that before. Are we sure the offense is good? Because it actually didn't have a good year last year. But if you invest all of it in your offense and you try to mix and match with your pitching, the results can be disastrous. But like you said, all right, the Braves have good pitching. The Braves, they drafted Spencer Strider, and the dude's a stud. And everything else falls into place from that. The Dodgers have good pitching because they've drafted guys like Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler and Julio Urias before he decided to be a piece of crap off the field. Like, they've drafted guys and then supplemented.
Is it fair though? Because the Cardinals, Jack Flaherty was supposed to be one of those guys. Alex Reyes was supposed to be one of those guys. If you have injuries, you don't know who's going to be hurt or not perform at the level that you expect them to.
It's fair.
But Sandy Alcantara got hurt last year. He missed time. So You don't know
Marlins still made the playoffs.
They probably got some other guys that were pitching pretty well.
And as the text line would say, they had a pretty good manager, too.
Oh, yeah, we get reminded of that.
Manager. They've got a good manager. Our manager's horrendous and awful and all that.
They blame Ollie for everything.
Notice the sarcasm there.
I know.
Yes, they do.
But you don't know when guys are not going to perform to the level of that expectation.
True.
So if you had 4 guys and you chose to keep these 2 as opposed to those 2, it happens.
Well, that's part of the decision making. You just made a great point, Carey. You made a great point there. They chose to make that Ozuna trade and give up some pitching, believing that Jack Flaherty and who's the other guy? Luke Weaver. And you go back.
They had Carlos Martinez.
That is the crux of the Cardinals' issues in these trades. Randy, I said it at the time. The Randy Arozarena trade will be as much about Harrison Bader, Tyler O'Neill, and what other outfielder they had at the time than it will be about Matthew Liberatore. Go back. I said it. When Randy A was going off in the playoffs, I go, these other outfielders better perform. Why? It goes back to the quarterback conversation. What do you have? They chose the other guys over him. They chose the other pitchers over Alcantara and Gallen. So when you say Carey, and you're right, hey, can you blame them? They got hurt. Yeah, you picked them. You went that route.
Well, and you talked about, like a for sure thing. I think that's why some people, they want certain free agents because those guys have proven that they can perform at the highest level when it matters. And this team relies on hope. We had a nickname for it for the entire year, Rhode Island, right? That's what this team is. Like, they just hope that some of these players will end up playing well. And when they don't, you get a season like last year.
They're going to make the same mistake this year.
Well, yeah.
We're seeing it.
Why are you going? This is the thing I was talking about, foresight. Why are you going into this offseason with 3 open spots for your starting pitching? Why?
Yeah.
You need a foresight to know that you need to find other guys 3 years, get those guys on contracts.
It doesn't excuse what you just said. I'm not making excuses. People are going to take it this way, but I think they finally realized that. That's why you saw the deals that they made at the deadline. That's why it was so important to get pitching at the deadline. I don't know if those guys are going to pan out. I do know you need more bites at the apple, though. The Cardinals, everybody's sick and tired of my grocery store analogy, so I'll stop using it.
Just one more time for old time's sake.
Though. It's still apt. If you say, we're good, we got that one position filled. Okay. You better be pretty good with that shot. Because if you don't hit me between the eyes, you don't have another bullet.
Right.
I think what they're trying to do with the trades that they made last year, coupled with the guys that they have coming up, the McGreevy's, the Tinkenses, all the Jerpies, now it's the shotgun approach. I know 2 of you are going to get hurt. I know 2 of you are not going to pitch well. I know 2 of you are going to be average. But my God, if I get 2 great ones out of you or 1 great one, okay. Now we can go from there.
Right.
Shotgun approach. This Cardinals team is like, we're good. We got a pitcher. Set. You got 1 shot, man. You ain't a sniper. You haven't been a sniper in a long time. All right, we'll move on. I think we were talking about ownership there. I don't know where we got.
Made a turn.
Yeah, we made a turn.
It's okay.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Biggest question of the day next. So I had to call my guy Stewie here because I heard rates are going up. And Stewie, you're always somebody that's like, oh, hey, we can still do something with this, still do something positive. How with the rates going up, can we do anything positive with this?
Well, Anthony, this is like a yo-yo, up and down. So the CPI report, which is the inflation report, went up for December. Jobs report is still strong. That all of a sudden means that interest rates went up a little bit. So you got to catch it while you can. This is what we do best. We monitor it for you. If you got a loan in the last 12 months, you can refinance for free with the bagel loan. Take advantage while you can. Get it with no closing costs. If rates go down more, we'll reduce it even more for you.
Well, beautiful. There you go. You heard Stewie. Now call him or text him at his personal cell phone number, which is 314-324-4440. He can be reached day or night. He doesn't want you to be put on hold or not talk to anybody for 45 minutes waiting to get somebody. He wants you to call because he's got plenty of programs to help. And if you missed that number that I just threw out there, simply Google the bagel loan. Stewie, keep up the great work.
Have a good night, guys.
NMLS number 226715.
Paying too much for your ED meds? The Medicine Shop in St. Charles is your destination for cheap ED meds. They have a generic called Sildenafil for less than $2 a pill. Prescription is required, and you don't have to live close either to cash in on the savings. They have free, discreet shipping to your home or your workplace. They also have a full-service pharmacy, great staff, customer service is fantastic, located in beautiful St. Charles. Give them a call, 636-949-5593 or stcharles.pharmacy. That's stcharles.pharmacy.
Blue Chip Pest Services is now Bug Out, the same local experts you know and trust with a new name. Our expert technicians are equipped with innovative products, personalized service, and put our customers first. Choose year-round pest protection with Bug Out. Visit bugoutservice.com.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues lost to the Flyers last night by a final score of 4-2. We talked with Joe Vitale earlier today, diving into what went wrong last night for your Blues. But no worries, they'll be back in action Thursday taking on the Capitals. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. The divisional round is set in the NFL as the Ravens take on the Texans. The Bills will host the Chiefs. The 49ers going up against the Packers, and the Lions will take on the Buccaneers. We talked about the NFL all day long. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. Head to the podcast page. You'll see all of our interviews, including the one with Joe Vitale, and you'll see all of our full shows as well. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have our biggest question of the day coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
It's time Time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
All right, time for the biggest question of the day. Carey, you had read off a text that was directed at me that was very heated. This person is very upset with me. So we figured let's do this is the biggest question of the day.
All right, here we go. From the 206, hey, Anthony, please tell me who's the guy. Who's the pitcher available that makes you satisfied that we are legit? You day in and day out troll these BFIB, and you piss us realistic fans off who understand this ain't LA, Chicago, or New York.
First of all, speak for yourself. Don't talk about anybody else. Second of all, there is no guy. You have missed my point that I have made. You clearly listen every day because you say so, but you miss my point each and every time. I've never been about free agent spending. I've never been about taking the top guy. I think that's fool's gold. So there is no guy. You need to develop aces. You need to develop those guys. I appreciate you saying that this is in LA, Chicago, one of the big markets. I think that's fantastic. You're absolutely right. I don't think you should compare yourself to the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. I don't think you should compare yourself to the Yankees, the Astros, the Braves, or the Phillies. You're absolutely right. You're not going to spend that way. But if you think that I'm going to sit here and play patty cake and say that what they have done is okay, you're sadly mistaken. I'm not talking about spending. I am talking about building an actual contender. I don't think what the Phillies do works. The Mets took that same approach.
Didn't work.
The Padres took that same approach.
Not working.
They're trying to do the ultimate cheat code. I have said this before. The Padres tried to cut corners. You have to develop aces like the Cardinals have done. I've talked about the fundamental approach of selecting pitchers, grooming them, and having them ready to go when you need them. I've talked about the mistakes the Cardinals have made since 2019. It's not about one off season. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to say, well, Blake Snell will get them. I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say Blake Snell puts you over the top.
Jordan Montgomery?
No.
Okay.
I don't think Dylan Cease puts you over the top.
Okay.
They're not one guy away. They are a pitching staff away. I've been consistent on this. So you can be mad at me all you want. You can have hurt feelings all you want. But I'm not going to sit here and say that this roster is okay when it's not. It's painfully average. There's not one guy on the market. You're right. But come on, man. You act like I haven't laid this out 750 times before. It's not about one off season. It's not about one blanket signing. My team's trying now. Stop. Build a pitching staff. Go ahead.
We got a text from the 314. Hi, Ranthony.
Hello. I appreciate the comment, man. I do. But you ain't listening. Or you're missing my point. Or I'm not delivering my point because I'm not that smart. One of the options.
I think your point is well taken.
I have said this consistently.
Build your team through drafts and develop your players. And then, don't trade them away.
Don't trade them away. Supplement the talents. If you try to go the same route as some of these other teams, you're going to fail miserably.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
It doesn't work.
201 or whatever the hell.
206.
206.
Yep.
You're right, 206. You're not the Dodgers. You're not the Phillies. You're not the Braves. You're absolutely right. I don't pretend the Cardinals are. But I'm not going to sit here and say like some of these other people, you just get Blake Snell or you just get Dylan Cease. That's not going to solve the problem. Understand why you lose. Understand why you win. This is a mistake that they have made since 2019. Bill came due last season. I've been consistent about this. If you feel the same way as a 206 and I just sit here and complain about the Cardinals not being the Dodgers, you ain't listening either. And I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I'm not going to do the thing.
That's right.
I'm not going to do the thing. And I'm not trolling Cardinals fans on this. I'm not. My message has been clear.
Build through the draft.
There you go.
Develop.
All right. Am I off on that?
No.
You guys hold me accountable.
I think you're pretty right.
Thank you, Carey.
Hey, spending a lot of money doesn't equate championships.
It doesn't always.
No.
Because then you get the one text. Really? What about the Rangers?
Yeah, there's an exception to every rule.
Slow down. Yeah.
What about the Rams?
What about the Rams?
The hell with those picks.
In terms of like drafting and building?
No, they spent money and they went out and got a bunch of players and they won a Super Bowl.
The hell with those picks.
When you have a quarterback, it masks for a lot.
There are exceptions to every rule.
Let's talk about that though, because you bring up a really good point. It's a really good counter. The Rams, what did they not have? You watched them on Sunday night. What did they not have?
A defense?
A defense?
The defense isn't good enough. They started to get really banged up. They didn't have the depth.
They still lost by one.
They still lost by one. Sure. Because they're well coached and they got a quarterback. Stafford's a stud. McVay's a stud. But they didn't have the depth. That's what happens when you don't have the draft picks. You don't have the draft capital. Now, give Les Snead credit, man. You find a Puka Nacua to overcome, which Cooper Kupp does not look like the same guy.
Nah.
You just replaced them. Like, that's outstanding draft. So, with the small resources that they did have, they got Nacua now for 4 or 5 years, not paying him. Mm-hmm. This is my point about drafting and developing. Screw your spending. Cost control players, young cost control players that are going to give you their best in their prime.
Well, before they hit contracts, before they hit free agency,
Correct.
Before they have to get paid hundreds of millions of dollars.
And soak up your cap space or soak up your budget.
Yep.
It's not about paying the 31-year-old because the fan base feels a little better about the fact that they got the top 5 guy in ESPN's top 100 list. Screw that. Build a winner.
You have to draft and you have to develop. That's the basis of any team. The lifeblood. It's hard to get a group of guys together that have never played together and expect them to become champions.
Hired
from
mercenaries.
a different organization,
different
from a
culture.
different mindset,
Yes.
different culture.
That's a great point.
Bringing them in to be under the same umbrella and have the same mind. I've been doing this for 8 years. I don't do it that way.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 6 years. I don't do it. It's a difference.
Yep.
But if you bring those guys up through your system, teaching them your culture, showing them how you all do things, that's what makes championship teams.
Now, I won't speak for St. Louis. That would be irresponsible of me to do. But I think this is, in my opinion, and maybe other people agree with it, they've seen the Cardinals not develop and draft leading up to, I'm not going to mention Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn. It looks like they got some good guys in the pipeline. Victor Scott. I'm excited to see what they will do here in a few years. But leading up to that point, they didn't do that. So
you got Kyle Gibson and you got
when you prove
Lance Lynn
to the fan base that your development is not up to snuff, the first thing you think of, okay, well, we just need to spend money then. We need to spend money like the Phillies.
Right.
You know, last year, the Mets spent and the Padres spent. Why did they do that? Because the Phillies spent the year before and went to the World Series. The Rangers just spent, won the World Series. Some teams do it better than others. I would like to think that if the Cardinals spent, they would maybe do better than others.
Do you though?
No. But
there you go. Because what is it about?
I want to think that.
No, Marsh, what is it about? You're absolutely right.
I think they have a problem at identifying talent when it comes to the free agent market and within their organization.
There you go.
So they need to fix that.
There you go. I like Sonny Gray a lot. I think Lance Lynn's a bulldog. I think Kyle Gibson's a nice fit.
But what I'm saying is that people might think that narrative now is, well, okay, they're not going to develop these players in the right way, so the next best thing is to spend like these other teams, and I can understand why people want them to spend.
I understand that thought process behind it, because then you get the homework that's already been done for you. But
it's cheaper to draft and develop.
It is, and I still think it's a better way to build.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying never spend. I'm not saying never make a trade. You supplement when you know you have a good roster, not to fill holes. The Cardinals fill holes. Free agency, to me, is about supplementing your roster. They use it to fill holes.
Yeah.
Trade deadline, same deal.
Holes.
Right. I do want to thank the 206 here. I do want to thank the 206.
They said thank you as well.
206, you got my blood boiling. I freaking love it. I do. Seriously. I think that was a great text. I appreciate it. I'm never going to back down on something like that. I love it, man. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sending it. Got me up out of my chair. You got Ranthony out. 206. Well done, man. Well done. Seriously, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I don't think spending on free agency, I don't think comparing yourself to the Dodgers. You're absolutely right, 206. I'm with you. Seriously. I feel good.
Yeah, you got that out?
I feel good.
There you go.
All right.
How unfortunate that the show is coming to a close.
That's right. But we still got plenty of time to get your criticisms, your compliments, and some 3 stars in. Next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Carey, and fellas, are you suffering from a feeling of wanting to urinate but can't? Maybe you're straining while urinating. Maybe you're feeling like you're not able to empty your bladder quite fully, and maybe you're waking up multiple times at night to urinate. Well, if this is you, you could be suffering from BPH or an enlarged prostate. It's a common condition for men 60 years or older, but no need to worry. My friends at the Midwest Institute for Non-Surgical Therapy have the solution. The part that I want you to hear most is non-surgical. That's what I want you to hear. This procedure is minimally invasive, and it has lower risks of complications, no hospital stay, no sutures, scarring, or general anesthesia, relief from the uncomfortable symptoms that I mentioned above, and it allows you to resume normal activities typically within a few days, all while feeling better and feeling relieved. After the procedure, most men begin to notice a difference within a month or two, and the best part about it is it's covered by most insurances, so stop waiting and get going. Reach out to mintstl.com today to schedule your appointment. That's mintstl.com, and tell them Carey sent you.
you miss anything from today's show, you can always download the podcast, available at 101ESPN.com or your 101 ESPN mobile app, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We got to do bet the board. Jamie sent his pick in. He sees an absolute shootout between the Maple Leafs and Oilers tonight, so he's got the over 6.5 in that matchup. Carey?
I'm going to go Clippers over. They are laying 6.5 versus the Thunder. I'm going to go there.
So Clippers laying the 6.5 against the Suns. You get the Clippers
versus the Thunder.
Or Thunder, excuse me. Marsh? All right, I'm going to go Avalanche. I'm going to go Avalanche minus 118 against the Senators. I don't know why that money line is that low, but Senators have had plenty, or Avalanche have had plenty of success against the Senators. They're 7-2-1. Their last 10 games are Colorado. I think it's a good spot just to take the Avs on the road.
I'm going to do college basketball tonight. Charlotte over Rice. It's at minus 140.
Okay. Got the Charlotte versus throw out the records, man. The Charlotte 49ers?
Yeah.
And the Rice Owls get together.
Yeah.
All right, Marsh, what do you got? Criticisms, compliments, 3 stars. Which way you want to go?
We'll do one compliment real quick. I like the NFL being talked more with Carey on the radio.
All right.
I like talking the NFL too. Thank you.
And then our 3 stars of the day. Our number 3 star from the 618. A suggestion for the Riz Show. Have them dress up as babies and all hold baby powder / various diaper rash creams, etc. because they're sore losers.
I like
That's a pretty good one.
That's really
gonna
good,
be tough.
actually.
That's the one to beat.
Yep.
Our second star of the day is Ranthony.
All right.
Good job, Ranthony.
Well, thank you to the 206 bringing them out.
Ranthony with our second star of the day.
206 gets that second star.
There you go.
And our first star of the day with a gauntlet win in baseball. Carey Davis.
Yes, CD.
Yeah.
Nice job. You had all of them right except for the last one there.
Yeah, I just went out on a limb on that one.
That's okay. Well, at least he was one of the options.
He was.
Stan the Man was one of the options.
Made me feel better.
Nice
that we
job.
both chose Stan the Man. I could either be both of us right or both of us wrong.
And you took down Todd, who was our original Gauntlet 1.0 champion. Nice work. We will be back tomorrow. Andrew Marsh, Carey Davis, Anthony Stalter. I don't know if Jamie is.
I think he's in.
He might be in from the road. We'll figure it out. We've got an instant replay coming up right now, though, so we appreciate everybody texting in and tuning in. Thank you. See you.